My wife walked into my house to find it plastered with hundreds of photos of her and my boss. I had vanished, and the kids were already at the doorstep. My wife shut the door, and then this happened. The house was silent when she arrived. Not the comfortable silence of a Sunday afternoon, where you can hear the hum of the refrigerator and the distant bark of a neighbor's dog. No, this was the silence that comes after something has been removed. The silence of absence. The silence that fills the spaces where a person used to be. Sarah's heels clicked against the walkway each step, a small percussion in that vast quiet. She was humming something, probably a song from the radio, probably something she'd heard on the drive from his apartment, my boss's apartment, the place where she'd spent the afternoon doing things she thought I didn't know about. I wasn't there to watch her face when she opened the door. I'd already left hours before, timing it perfectly so the kids' bus would arrive exactly 7 minutes after her car pulled into the driveway. But I can imagine it. I've imagined it 1,000 times since then, playing it like a film in my mind. Each viewing revealing new details, new moments of recognition crossing her face. The door swung open, and there I was. Not physically, I was already gone by then, already miles away, sitting in a rental car at a rest stop off the highway, my hands still shaking, my phone turned off, a one-way ticket to anywhere folded in my pocket. But I was there in another way. I was there in hundreds of photographs, thousands of pixels, an entire gallery of evidence that transformed our living room into something else entirely. Something like a museum. Something like a crime scene. Something like a mirror she couldn't look away from. The walls were covered, every single wall. The living room, the hallway, the kitchen, every surface that could hold a photograph now did. 473 images, to be exact. I'd counted them as I hung them, each one a small act of documentation, each one a piece of truth she'd tried to keep hidden. There was Sarah at the downtown hotel, her hand on his arm. Sarah in his car, her head thrown back in laughter. Sarah walking into his building, her body language already changed, already someone else's. The photos weren't artistic. I'm not a photographer. I'm an accountant. Someone who deals in numbers and facts and things that can be proven. But they didn't need to be artistic. They just needed to be true. And they were. God, they were. I picture her standing there in the doorway, her purse sliding off her shoulder, keys still dangling from her fingers. The humming stops. Everything stops. Because how do you process something like this? How do you reconcile the life you thought you were living with the life that's suddenly been exposed, laid bare, pinned to the walls like butterfly specimens? Each photograph was printed on standard 8x10 photo paper. Nothing fancy. I'd used the print shop at the office supply store, spending 3 hours there the night before, watching the machine spit out image after image, each one a small rebellion against the gaslighting, against the "you're being paranoid," against the "we're just colleagues," and "you're imagining things," and "why don't you trust me anymore?" Because trust isn't imaginary. Trust is built on truth. And truth, I've learned, can be documented. The timeline was clear if you looked carefully. I'd arranged them chronologically, starting with the earliest photograph from 6 months ago, a business lunch that ran too long. Her hand lingering on his forearm and moving forward through time like a story being told, panel by panel, moment by moment, lie by lie. There were dates printed beneath each photo, times, locations. I'm an accountant, remember? Details matter. February 14th, 2:30 p.m., Riverside Hotel. March 3rd, 6:45 p.m., his condo building. March 17th, lunch hour, her car, in his garage. April 2nd, April 9th, April 16th, a pattern emerging, every Tuesday, every Thursday, like clockwork, like something scheduled, something routine, something that replaced me. I imagine her taking a step inside, then another, her eyes moving from wall to wall, trying to find a space that isn't covered, trying to find somewhere safe to look, but there is nowhere safe. That's the point. Every angle offers another view of the same truth, another piece of evidence, another moment she thought was private, secret, hers alone. The dining room table, the same table where we'd eaten 1,000 dinners, where the kids had done their homework, where we'd planned vacations and celebrated birthdays and talked about our future, was covered too. But not with photographs, with documents. Bank statements showing cash withdrawals I'd never made. Credit card bills for restaurants I'd never been to. Hotels I'd never stayed in. Her second phone bill, yes, I'd found that too. The one she kept hidden in her gym bag. The one with all those late-night texts, those heart emojis. Those I miss you messages sent while I was upstairs putting the kids to bed. Phone records. Hundreds of calls. Some lasting minutes. Some lasting hours. Some placed at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Times when I was sleeping beside her. Times when she'd slip out of bed saying she couldn't sleep. Saying she was going to read downstairs. Saying she just needed some space. She needed space for him. I'd printed the text messages too. Not all of them, there were thousands, but enough. A greatest hits collection of betrayal. He doesn't suspect anything. I'll tell him I have to work late. God, I wish I could wake up next to you. How much longer do we have to wait? How much longer? As if I was an obstacle. As if our marriage was a countdown timer they were enduring together. Marking days until they could be free. The emails were there too. Spread across the coffee table like playing cards in a game of solitaire. Work emails that turned personal, personal emails that turned explicit, explicit emails that turned into plans, schemes, a whole architecture of deception built message by message, click by click, lie by lie. And in the center of it all, on the mantel above the fireplace where our wedding photo used to sit, I'd placed a single document, our marriage certificate, but I'd modified it. Printed over it in red letters, large enough to read from across the room. Void. Not legally void, not yet, but void in the way that matters. Void of trust. Void of honesty. Void of the promises she'd made 13 years ago when she'd looked into my eyes and said, I do, and forever, and forsaking all others. Forsaking, such an old-fashioned word. But watching someone you love choose someone else, watching them forsake you, there's nothing old-fashioned about that pain. It's ancient and immediate, timeless and urgent, the same hurt that's been breaking hearts since the first person ever said, I love you, and meant it while someone else was lying. The kid's school bus would arrive in, I checked my watch even though I wasn't there. Habit, always checking the time, always trying to stay organized, always trying to keep everything running smoothly, 6 minutes. I'd sent their grandmother to pick them up, called her that morning, told her everything, asked her to be there when the bus came. She'd cried, said she couldn't believe it. Said Sarah had always seemed so devoted. But that's the thing about seeming, it's different from being. You can seem devoted while your heart is somewhere else. You can seem faithful while planning your exit. You can seem like the person someone married while becoming someone else entirely. Sarah's mother would be there in 6 minutes, would arrive to find her daughter standing in a house transformed into a courtroom, every wall a witness, every document a testimony. And the kids, Mia, 8 years old, with her mother's eyes and my stubborn chin, and Jackson, 6, who still believed the world was fundamentally good, they'd be there too, standing on the doorstep, confused, asking questions. That part hurt the most. Not the betrayal itself, that was its own unique agony, but the fact that I'd had to leave them, even temporarily, even for their own good. But they couldn't be there for this. They couldn't watch their mother's world collapse. They'd see enough wreckage in the aftermath. They didn't need to witness the demolition. I imagined Sarah moving through the house now, her breathing shallow, her hands reaching out to steady herself against furniture that's no longer familiar, a home that's become foreign territory. She's looking for me, probably, calling my name, maybe. David? David, what is this? David, where are you? But I'm not there. I'm 50 miles away, then 100, then more. Driving north with no particular destination, just away, just elsewhere, just anywhere but that house full of ghosts and evidence and the ruins of everything I'd tried to build. The note was on the kitchen counter, simple, direct. I've never been good with flowery language, that's more her thing. The English teacher who loves poetry and metaphor and beautiful lies wrapped in beautiful words. My note was 2 sentences long. I know everything. The kids are with your mother. I'll be in touch through my lawyer. Lawyer. I'd hired one 3 days ago. The same day I'd printed the first batch of photographs. The same day I'd finally accepted that this marriage wasn't savable, wasn't worth saving, was already dead, and just needed to be buried properly. She'd want to explain, probably. Want to tell me her side, her reasons, her justifications. Want to say it wasn't what it looked like, even though it was exactly what it looked like. Want to claim she still loved me, even though love doesn't sneak around, doesn't lie, doesn't send "I can't wait to leave him" messages to your boss at midnight. My boss. That was its own special kind of betrayal. Richard Chen, senior partner, my mentor for 5 years, the man who'd promoted me, who'd told me I had a bright future, who'd shaken my hand at the company Christmas party while sleeping with my wife, while planning a future with my wife, while counting down the days until they could be together openly. The photographs on the wall told that story too. Him touching her waist at the office retreat, them disappearing into the supply closet during the quarterly review meeting, his hand on her lower back, possessive, claiming, the gesture of someone who thinks he owns something, someone who thought he owned her, someone who thought he could take her, someone who didn't understand that you can't take what's given freely, what's offered up like a gift, what's handed over without resistance. I wonder if she's crying now. I wonder if she's angry. I wonder if there's any part of her that understands why I did this, why I couldn't just leave quietly, why the silence and the photographs and the evidence scattered like seeds across every surface. Because gaslighting someone is a special kind of cruelty, making someone doubt their own perception, their own instincts, their own sanity. That's not just betrayal, that's erasure. For 6 months, she'd looked me in the eye and lied. 6 months of, "You're being ridiculous, and you're insecure, and why are you always questioning me?" The photographs were my answer. This is why. Because I wasn't crazy. Because my instincts were right. Because when someone's behavior changes, when someone starts hiding their phone and staying late at work and smelling like cologne that isn't yours, you're not paranoid for noticing. You're observant. You're paying attention. You're still there, still present, still trying to hold on to something while they're already letting go. The sun was setting now. I could see it in my rearview mirror, the sky turning orange and pink and purple, the kind of sunset Sarah used to call magical. She'd make us stop whatever we were doing to watch it, to appreciate it, to be present in the moment. "Look," she'd say. "Look how beautiful. I wonder if she thinks it's beautiful now. I wonder if she's even looking. I wonder if she's still standing there in the living room, surrounded by evidence, drowning in truth, finally understanding that the life she'd been living was about to end. Not with a conversation, not with a chance to explain, not with forgiveness or understanding or one more opportunity to make things right. With photographs, with documents, with silence. With me, already gone, already ghost, already somewhere else. The next chapter of my life was starting. Hers was ending. And for once, for the first time in 6 months, I wasn't the one in the dark. She was. The thing about being an accountant is that you learn to see patterns where other people see chaos. Numbers tell stories if you know how to read them. A sudden spike in expenses, a recurring withdrawal, a pattern of transactions that doesn't match the narrative someone's selling you. These are the breadcrumbs that lead to truth. And I've always been good at following breadcrumbs. It's literally my job. Finding discrepancies, identifying irregularities, tracking money as it moves from one place to another, one hand to another, one lie to another. So when Sarah's spending habits changed 4 months ago, I noticed, not dramatically, she's smarter than that. She didn't suddenly start buying expensive jewelry or booking weekend getaways. The changes were subtle, the kind that would slip past someone who wasn't paying attention. An extra $40 here, $60 there, coffee shops I'd never heard of. Lunch receipts from restaurants across town, nowhere near her school. Gas stations in neighborhoods she had no reason to visit. Separately, they meant nothing. Together, they drew a map. I'm sitting in a motel room now, 3 hours north of what used to be home. The place smells like bleach and cigarette smoke that's been painted over but never really gone. The bedspread has that geometric pattern that all cheap motels seem to favor, brown and orange and aggressively ugly. There's a landscape painting on the wall mountains. A lake, completely generic, the kind of art that's designed to be forgotten the moment you look away from it. My laptop is open on the desk, the screen casting a blue glow across the dark room. I haven't turned on the lights, don't want to. The darkness feels appropriate somehow, fitting for what I'm doing, for what I'm about to do next. Because the photographs were just the opening statement. The evidence on the walls was just the introduction, the first chapter in a story that's going to have many more pages before it's finished. I pull up the spreadsheet I've been building for 3 months. Row after row of data, color-coded, cross-referenced, meticulously documented. Every lunch date, every unexplained absence, every lie mapped and measured and quantified. Because that's what I do. That's what I'm good at. Taking the intangible and making it concrete. Taking feelings and suspicions and turning them into facts. Cell A1, date. Cell B1, time. Cell C1, location. Cell D1, duration. Cell E1, cost. Cell F1, cover story. Cell G1, actual activity. Cell H1, evidence type. February 14th, Valentine's Day. She told me she had a faculty meeting that would run late, that the principal wanted to discuss the new curriculum standards, that she'd probably grab dinner with the other teachers afterward. I'd made reservations at the Italian place she loved, had bought flowers, had planned to surprise her when she got home. She came back at 10:47 p.m. I know because I noted it. Time logged, entered into the spreadsheet. Another data point in the growing constellation of deception. Her hair was different, styled in a way she usually only bothered with for special occasions. She was wearing the perfume I'd given her for Christmas, the expensive one she said she was saving. Her lips looked freshly glossed. And when she kissed me, hello, quick, perfunctory, already moving past me toward the stairs, she smelled like wine and something else. His cologne. I didn't know it was his cologne then, but I do now. Armani Code. I've memorized the scent the same way I've memorized everything else about him. The credit card statement from that day showed a charge at the Riverside Hotel, drinks and appetizers, $147. I called the hotel later, pretending to be following up on a business expense. Asked what the charge would have included. 2 premium cocktails, the oyster sampler, the charcuterie board, the chocolate souffle for 2. For 2. She'd spent Valentine's Day with him while I sat at home with wilting roses and cold pasta, telling myself she was just dedicated to her job, just committed to her students, just being the responsible professional I'd always admired. I was such a fool. The spreadsheet has 137 entries now. 137 documented instances of deception, each one a small death, each one a moment where she chose him over me, chose lies over truth, chose the easy path of betrayal over the hard work of honesty. March 3rd. She said she was going to the gym. She did go to the gym. Her car was there for exactly 47 minutes, just long enough to maintain the illusion. Then she drove to his condo. Stayed for 2 hours and 18 minutes. I know because I was parked across the street, camera in hand, becoming someone I never thought I'd be. A husband spying on his wife. A man hiding in shadows. Someone gathering evidence of his own irrelevance. March 17th. Book club. Except her book club meets on Tuesdays, and this was a Thursday. I checked with Amanda, one of the other members. Asked casually about the discussion. Mentioned I might read the book too. Amanda looked confused. Said they hadn't met that week. Said their next meeting wasn't until the following month. Another lie. Another entry. Another small piece of the larger picture. April 2nd. The first time I heard them on the phone together. I'd come home early, had a migraine, couldn't focus at work, just wanted to lie down in a dark room and wait for the pain to pass. She didn't hear me come in. Was in the kitchen, her back to the door. Her voice soft and warm in a way she hadn't sounded with me in months. I miss you too, she was saying. No, he's at work. He never comes home early. We're safe. We're safe. As if my presence was a threat. As if my own house was enemy territory, they had to navigate carefully, like soldiers avoiding landmines, like criminals evading detection. I stood there listening, invisible in my own home, while she made plans with him. Dinner tomorrow, his place. She'd tell me she was helping a colleague prepare for parent-teacher conferences. She laughed at something he said. A real laugh. Genuine. The kind of laugh I used to inspire before I became furniture, before I became the obstacle between her and whatever happiness she thought he represented. That was the day I started building the case. Not just for divorce, I already knew we were headed there, but for custody. Because if she could lie to me so easily, so completely, what else was she capable of? What kind of example was she setting for our kids? What were they learning from a mother who treated promises like suggestions, commitments like optional guidelines? I pull up another folder on my laptop. This one's labeled Communications. Inside are screenshots. So many screenshots. Text messages I pulled from the cloud backup she didn't know I had access to. Emails I found by logging into her account. She'd used the same password for everything, our anniversary date, which felt like its own special irony. The messages are worse than I imagined they'd be. Not just because of what they say, but because of who she becomes in them. The Sarah in these messages isn't my wife. She's someone else entirely. Someone younger, freer, unburdened by responsibility. Someone who uses exclamation points and emojis, who sends selfies and voice messages, who talks about us, me and the kids like we're a temporary inconvenience. Can't wait until I'm free of this, one message says. Just a few more months and we can be together for real. Free of this. Free of our marriage. Free of our family. Free of me. Another message from a month ago. He asked me why I'm always on my phone. I told him I was texting my sister. God. He believes everything. It's almost too easy. It's almost too easy. That line has haunted me for weeks now, because she's right. I did believe everything. I believed her when she said she loved me. I believed her when she said, for better or worse. I believed her when she came home late and tired and distant, when she stopped initiating intimacy, when she started keeping her phone face down on the counter, when she password protected her laptop. I believed because that's what you do when you love someone. You trust them. You give them the benefit of the doubt. You assume the best because assuming the worst feels like a betrayal in itself, like you're the one breaking the marriage covenant by even entertaining suspicion. But trust without verification is just naivety, and I was naive for a long time, too long. My phone buzzes. I've left it on, just in case. In case of what, I'm not entirely sure. In case she somehow tracks me down? In case she has something to say that could possibly justify this? In case some part of me still wants to hear her voice? It's not her. It's my lawyer, Margaret Santos, 53, partner at one of the best family law firms in the state. I'd interviewed 6 attorneys before choosing her. She's expensive, brilliant, ruthless when she needs to be. I told her everything in our first meeting. Showed her the evidence, the photographs, the spreadsheet, the messages. She leaned back in her chair, studied me for a long moment, then said, "You've done my job for me. This is the most well-documented case of infidelity I've seen in 20 years. Her text is brief. Client reports wife is attempting contact. Multiple calls to your old number, emails, messages through friends. Maintain no contact. Let her reach out through official channels. You're doing great." You're doing great. Such a strange thing to hear when your marriage is ending. But I suppose she means I'm following the plan, sticking to the strategy, not caving to emotion or guilt or the impulse to explain myself. Because that's what Sarah will want, an explanation, a chance to defend herself, an opportunity to tell her side, to make me understand, to convince me that somehow this isn't what it looks like even though it's exactly what it looks like. But I don't owe her that. I don't owe her my pain, or my anger, or my presence. I gave her 13 years of my life, 2 children, a home, loyalty, love, trust, everything I had to give. She took all of it, and still wanted more, wanted different, wanted him. So now she gets silence. She gets absence. She gets to stand in that house surrounded by evidence and wonder where I am, what I'm thinking, what comes next. What comes next is dissolution. Clinical, legal, final. I've already filed the papers. Margaret did it yesterday morning, electronically, efficiently. Sarah will be served tomorrow at school, during her lunch break. I timed it specifically not during class where students might witness it, but not at home either where she could hide it, pretend it isn't happening. Somewhere public enough to be real, private enough to be merciful. Because despite everything, I'm not cruel. I'm just done. The laptop screen has gone dim. I tap the keyboard, bringing it back to life, and open another folder. This one's labeled Financial Analysis, because the affair isn't just emotional betrayal, it has financial implications too, and I've documented every single one. Joint account withdrawals that funded their dates. Her credit card, which I'm still partially liable for, charged with hotel rooms and gifts and romantic dinners. The devaluation of our shared assets, because now they'll be divided, split down the middle, our life together reduced to columns and calculations, and who gets what. I've calculated my losses. Not just in dollars, though those numbers are staggering enough, but in time, in emotional investment, in the opportunity cost of loving someone who didn't love me back. 13 years I could have spent differently. 13 years I could have been with someone who valued me. 13 years that are just gone now, irretrievable, like money thrown into a void. But I've calculated her losses too, because she's going to lose more than she realizes. The house mine before we married, never refinanced, still solely in my name. She'll have to leave it. The car she drives registered to me. Payment from my account. It goes back. The joint account's frozen as of this morning. All automatic payments rerouted. Her access suspended. Her reputation, because the photographs aren't just for her. Copies have been sent to principal, to the school board, to Richard's wife. Yes, he's married too. That was another discovery, another layer of deception. Both of them married, both of them with families. Both of them willing to destroy multiple lives for whatever they thought they had together. I'm not doing this out of spite. Or maybe I am, partially. But mostly, I'm doing it because consequences matter. Because actions have weight. Because you can't betray people and expect them to absorb it quietly. To disappear without disrupting your narrative. To make your transition into your new life easy and comfortable. She wanted to be free of this. Fine. She's about to discover what freedom costs. The phone starts ringing. At 6:47 p.m., I'm still in the motel room, still staring at the laptop screen, still surrounded by evidence and spreadsheets and the clinical documentation of my marriage's death. The phone lights up on the nightstand. Her name, her photo, the picture I took of her 3 years ago at the beach when she was laughing at something Mia had said, when she looked happy and whole and like someone who meant her vows. I let it ring. Watch the screen pulse and glow, and eventually go dark. 17 seconds later, it starts again. This time I pick it up not to answer, but to watch, to see how many times she'll try, to quantify her desperation, the way I've quantified everything else. Because numbers don't lie. People do, but numbers don't. Call attempt number 2 ends. Number 3 begins immediately. Then 4, 5, 6. On the 7th attempt, I power the phone down completely, slide it into the nightstand drawer, close the drawer, try to pretend I can't still feel it there, vibrating with her need to reach me, to explain, to somehow undo what's already done. My burner phone, the one only Margaret and Sarah's mother have the number for buzzes once, a text from Linda, my soon-to-be former mother-in-law. The children are safe. They're confused, but safe. Sarah arrived 20 minutes ago. David, she's not well. Are you sure about this? Am I sure? As if certainty is something you can maintain when your entire life is collapsing. As if I haven't spent the last 3 months doubting everything, questioning myself, wondering if I was overreacting, if I was being paranoid, if I was destroying something that could still be saved. But then, I remember the messages. He believes everything. It's almost too easy. And the certainty returns, cold and solid and immovable as stone. I text back, "The kids can stay with you as long as needed. I'll cover all expenses. Make sure they know I love them, and this isn't their fault. Make sure they know that. They know." But David. I don't wait to see what comes after the but. I set the phone down, face down on the desk, and walk to the window. The motel parking lot stretches out below, half empty, illuminated by flickering fluorescent lights that turn everything sickly yellow. A couple argues next to a pickup truck. A man smokes alone by the ice machine. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that in room 237, someone's world has just ended. Two worlds, actually. Mine and hers. Both ended, just differently. Mine ended 3 months ago, when I first suspected, when I started noticing the patterns, the changes, the small inconsistencies that added up to one massive truth. That ending was slow, gradual, like watching something die by degrees. Each new piece of evidence was another small death, another moment of grief, another nail in a coffin I kept hoping I wouldn't have to build. Hers is ending right now. Sudden, violent, complete. She walked into that house expecting her normal life, her double life, yes, but still a life she understood, still a world she could navigate. Instead, she found exposure. She found evidence. She found the truth made visible, undeniable, impossible to spin or explain or wish away. I imagine her standing there still, surrounded by photographs. Or maybe she's pulled some down by now, ripped them off the walls in anger or desperation or shame. Maybe she's gathered them in piles, trying to destroy the evidence as if that would make it less true, as if hiding the proof would somehow reverse reality. But I have copies. Multiple copies. Digital backups, cloud storage, files saved in 3 different locations. I'm an accountant, remember? I believe in redundancy. I believe in protecting important documents. And these are the most important documents of my life. Proof that I'm not crazy. Proof that my instincts were right. Proof that when this goes to court, I'll have everything I need. The burner phone buzzes again. This time it's Margaret. Client's attorney made contact. Sarah retained Stephen Pembroke. He's already making noise about harassment, intentional infliction of emotional distress. Wants the photographs taken down immediately. I told him to go fuck himself in more professional language. You good? Stephen Pembroke. I know him, actually. We've met at bar association events, those tedious networking dinners I attended to support Sarah when she was trying to get on the school board. He's good. Expensive. Exactly who you'd hire if you needed to mount an aggressive defense. But defense against what? The truth? Facts? Evidence? You can't cross-examine a photograph. You can't impeach a credit card statement. You can't create reasonable doubt around a text message that says, "I can't wait to leave him." I text back, "I'm fine." Let him make noise. Discovery is going to be very educational for him. Margaret responds with a thumbs-up emoji. Then, also Richard Chen's wife filed for divorce this afternoon. Used our firm's recommended investigator. Turns out your photos helped her case too. Small world. Small world indeed. I feel something that might be satisfaction, might be vindication, might just be the grim pleasure of knowing I'm not the only one refusing to be a silent victim. Richard's wife, Jennifer, I think her name is, she deserves to know too. She deserves to stand in her own house, surrounded by her own evidence, making her own choices about what comes next. The affair wasn't just about me and Sarah. It was about him and Jennifer too. 4 lives, minimum, disrupted by 2 people who thought they could have everything, could maintain the facades while pursuing their desires, could keep everyone in the dark indefinitely. But darkness ends. Eventually, morning comes. Eventually, someone turns on the lights. I turned on the lights. My regular phone is still in the drawer, still powered down, but I can imagine what's accumulating there. Voicemails, dozens of them, probably. Text messages, emails. Sarah trying every channel, every method, every possible way to reach me. And it's not just her. By now, people know. Her mother knows, obviously. Richard's wife, knows. The school principal knows I made sure of that. Sent a carefully worded email with selected evidence. Nothing graphic, just enough to raise questions about professional conduct, about whether a teacher engaged in an affair with a supervisor should be trusted with institutional responsibilities. The school board knows too. I sent them a similar package. Again, nothing vindictive, nothing excessive, just facts, just documentation. Just, I thought you should be aware that one of your teachers has been engaged in conduct that may violate your ethics policies. Because this isn't just about my marriage. It's about integrity. It's about the gap between who people pretend to be and who they actually are. Sarah built her career on being a role model, on teaching literature and values and critical thinking to impressionable teenagers. She gave talks about character. She assigned essays about moral courage. She probably used words like integrity and honesty in her lesson plans. And then she spent 6 months lying to everyone who trusted her. The hypocrisy is stunning when you really examine it. Not just the personal betrayal, though, that's enormous, life-altering, the kind of wound that never fully heals, but the public hypocrisy. The performance of virtue while practicing vice. The teaching of values she didn't hold, standards she didn't meet, principles she violated daily. I wonder if her students will find out. Probably. These things have a way of spreading, especially in a small community where everyone knows everyone, where gossip moves faster than official news, where a scandal is entertainment and cautionary tale combined. Part of me feels bad about that. The kids don't deserve to have their teacher's personal life become public spectacle. But another part of me, the part that spent 3 months being gaslit, being made to feel crazy, being told you're imagining things, while she was actively, deliberately deceiving me, that part feels like sunlight is the best disinfectant. That part believes consequences should be public when the harm was public, when our marriage was paraded as successful while rotting from within, when I was performing the role of happy husband, while she was performing the role of faithful wife, and neither of us was being honest about the script we were actually following. The motel room feels smaller suddenly, the walls too close, the air too stale. I need to move, need to do something. Need to feel like I have agency in a situation where control has been illusory for months. I grab my jacket and head outside. The night air is cold, sharper than I expected for May. There's a gas station across the street, its neon sign bright against the dark sky. I walk toward it, hands in pockets, trying to look casual, trying to look like someone just getting snacks and not someone fleeing the wreckage of his entire life. Inside, fluorescent lights make everything harsh and overexposed. I grab a coffee from the machine by the register. It tastes like it's been sitting there since morning, burnt and bitter, and wander the aisles without purpose. Chips, candy, motor oil. Everything you need for a road trip. Nothing you need for emotional catastrophe. My burner phone buzzes. Another text from Linda. Sarah wants to know where you are. She's frantic. Says she needs to talk to you. Says there's been a terrible misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. That's what we're calling it now. 6 months of deliberate deception. Hundreds of lies. An entire secret relationship conducted in the margins of our marriage, all just a misunderstanding. I almost laugh. Almost. But laughing feels wrong. Feels like it would crack something inside me that needs to stay sealed for now. Needs to remain intact until I'm somewhere safe enough to fall apart. I text back. Tell her to communicate through her attorney. That's what he's for. Linda responds immediately. David, please. I know she hurt you, but she's still my daughter. She's devastated. She's devastated because she got caught, not because she did it. There's a long pause. I can imagine Linda on the other end, sitting in her living room with the kids, probably upstairs, pretending to do homework while really trying to hear the adults talk. Trying to understand why their family is suddenly fragmenting, why dad is gone and mom is crying, and grandma looks worried all the time. Finally, you're probably right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry this happened to you. That catches me off guard. The apology, the acknowledgement, because Linda loved Sarah, obviously still loves her, despite everything. But she's choosing truth over loyalty, choosing to see clearly rather than make excuses. That takes courage. That takes integrity. Thank you, I type back. I know this is hard for you too. The kids are my priority. Everything else is just logistics. Just logistics. As if divorce and betrayal and the complete dissolution of a life built over 13 years can be reduced to paperwork and procedures. But maybe that's what it needs to be right now. Maybe emotional distance is the only way to survive this. Maybe treating it like a business transaction, assets divided, custody arranged, legal matters resolved, is the only way to get through it without losing myself completely. I pay for the coffee and walk back outside. The couple by the pickup truck has left. The smoking man is gone. The parking lot is quieter now, just the hum of the highway in the distance and the flicker of the dying fluorescent lights. Back in the room, I open my laptop again, pull up a new document, start typing. Timeline for custody negotiation. Because that's what matters now. Not the affair, not the betrayal, not even the divorce itself. The kids. Making sure Mia and Jackson come through this as whole as possible. Making sure they know they're loved, that this isn't their fault, that sometimes adults make terrible choices, but that doesn't mean childhood has to be terrible too. I start listing priorities. School continuity, they should stay in their current district if possible. Therapy, they'll need it. We'll all need it. Consistent schedules, clear communication, co-parenting that's actually functional even if the marriage isn't. And custody. That's the big one. That's what Sarah will fight for. What she'll use as leverage. What she'll claim I'm being vindictive about if I push for primary custody. But I have evidence. I have documentation of her absences, her lies, her prioritization of an affair over family time. I have text messages where she complained about having to leave Richard's apartment to pick up the kids from school. I have records of school events she missed because she was with him, parent-teacher conferences she skipped, soccer games she forgot about. I have proof that for the last 6 months, she's been a part-time mother at best, physically present sometimes, emotionally absent always, her attention divided, her priorities clear. The courts favor mothers, generally. I know that. Margaret knows that. But they also favor stability, honesty, the parent who can provide the most consistent care. And right now, today, in this moment, that's me. Not forever, maybe. Sarah can rebuild, can prove she's refocused on the kids, can demonstrate that the affair is over, though I doubt it is. Doubt she's ready to give up whatever she thinks she has with Richard. But eventually, maybe, she can earn back equal custody. Can become the mother she used to be before she decided being someone's mistress was more important than being someone's wife. But that's future Sarah's problem. Current Sarah's problem is standing in a house covered with evidence of her choices, trying to call a husband who won't answer, trying to explain away the unexplainable. And me? My problem is figuring out how to sleep tonight, how to close my eyes without seeing her face, without remembering what we used to be, without mourning what we'll never be again. The coffee tastes worse cold. I drink it anyway. Stare at the laptop screen. Add another line to the custody document. Primary objective: protect the children from further instability. Secondary objective: ensure they maintain relationship with both parents. Tertiary objective: survive this with dignity intact. Dignity. Such a small word for such an enormous concept. The quiet self-respect that says you won't be a doormat, won't accept lies, won't pretend everything is fine when your world is burning. I've maintained dignity so far. Haven't screamed. Haven't begged. Haven't given her the satisfaction of seeing me break. But here, alone in this ugly motel room with burnt coffee and spreadsheets and the weight of tomorrow pressing down like gravity, I can feel the dignity starting to crack. I close the laptop, turn off the lights, lie down on the bed fully clothed. And finally, quietly, where no one can see or hear or judge, I let myself cry. Morning comes too early, and not early enough. I haven't really slept, just drifted in and out of consciousness, caught between exhaustion and adrenaline, between grief and something harder, colder, more resolute. The digital clock on the nightstand blinks, 6:23 a.m., in angry red numbers. Outside, the sky is that pale gray that comes before sunrise, the world suspended between night and day, between what was and what will be. My body aches. neck stiff from the cheap pillow, back protesting the mattress that's more concrete than comfort. Eyes burning from too many hours staring at screens, too many tears I didn't know I still had in me. But I get up anyway. Shower in the cramped bathroom where the water pressure is weak and the temperature swings wildly between scalding and frigid. Get dressed in yesterday's clothes because I left with almost nothing, just grabbed essentials and ran. Running. That's what I'm doing, isn't it? Despite all the preparation, all the evidence, all the careful planning, I'm still running, still fleeing, still unable to face her directly, to stand in the same room and watch her try to explain the unexplainable. Maybe that makes me a coward, or maybe it makes me smart. Self-preservation isn't cowardice. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away before the fight destroys what's left of you. The burner phone has 3 messages. I read them while the motel coffee maker gurgles and spits out something that barely qualifies as coffee. Margaret, 6:04 a.m. Pembroke filed emergency motion for return of marital property and restraining order against further harassment. Hearing is Friday. Don't worry, judge will laugh him out of the courtroom. Everything you did was legal. Truth is an absolute defense. Linda, 6:15 a.m. Kids asking about you. Mia wants to know when you're coming back. Jackson had nightmares. Sarah spent the night crying in the guest room. I don't know what to tell any of them. And a number I don't recognize. 6:18 a.m. This is Jennifer Chen, Richard's wife. Your lawyer gave me your contact. I wanted to say thank you. I've been going crazy thinking I was imagining things. The photos you sent my attorney, I needed that. I needed proof. I wasn't losing my mind. I hope that's not inappropriate to say. I hope you're holding up okay. I stare at that last message for a long time. Jennifer Chen. A woman I've never met, never spoken to. Someone who exists in my life only as collateral damage, as another casualty in the explosion of her husband's choices and my wife's betrayal. We're connected now, she and I. Members of the same unwanted club. People who loved people who didn't love them back. People who believed in promises that meant nothing. I type back, not inappropriate at all. I'm sorry you're going through this too. If you need anything, information, support, just someone who understands, I'm here. Her response comes immediately. Same. We should probably compare notes. Our lawyers are going to coordinate anyway. Might as well skip the middlemen. Coffee sometime? Coffee with my boss's wife to discuss how our spouses destroyed our lives. 6 months ago, the absurdity of this scenario would have been unthinkable. Now it feels perfectly reasonable. Necessary, even. I'm out of town for a few days. But yes, when I get back, deal. And David? Make them pay. Make them both pay. Make them pay. Such a simple directive. Such a complicated execution. Because, how do you quantify payment for betrayal? What's the exchange rate for 13 years of trust? How do you calculate compensation for the erosion of your ability to believe in anything, anyone, including yourself? The coffee tastes like regret and chemicals. I drink it anyway, standing at the window, watching the parking lot slowly come to life. A man loads luggage into a sedan. A woman walks a small dog. The world continues. Indifferent to personal catastrophe. Indifferent to the fact that my entire existence has fractured into before and after, into the man who trusted and the man who knows better now. My phone, the real one, still powered down in the nightstand drawer, is a black hole of curiosity. I want to turn it on. Want to see the messages, the voicemails, the digital evidence of Sarah's panic. Want to know what she's saying, how she's framing this, whether she's admitted anything or if she's still in denial. Still crafting narratives that might explain away photographs and text messages, and the irrefutable mathematics of her choices. But Margaret's instructions were clear. No contact, no engagement, no opportunities for her to manipulate the narrative, to gaslight me one more time, to turn this into a conversation where somehow I end up apologizing for discovering her affair. So, the phone stays off, the messages stay unread, and I stay in control, or at least in the appearance of control, which is close enough for now. I open my laptop, Check my bank accounts all still frozen on my end. Her access terminated. Check the credit monitoring service I set up last week. Check the document tracking system that shows me everyone who's accessed the evidence files I shared with the school board, the principal, Richard's wife's attorney. 17 people have viewed the files. 17. That means Sarah's affair isn't a private matter anymore. It's a known quantity. A documented fact. Something that exists in the awareness of colleagues, administrators, board members. Something that can't be unsaid, unknown, stuffed back into the shadows where it lived for 6 months. I wonder what the teacher's lounge is like this morning. If people are whispering. If Sarah's friends, the ones who met us for double dates, who came to our backyard barbecues, who probably knew and said nothing if they're scrambling to distance themselves or rallying to her defense. I wonder if anyone is asking the right questions. Not, how could David be so cruel? But how could Sarah lie so thoroughly? Not, why did he have to expose her like that? But why did she think she could get away with it? But I know how these things work. The betrayed spouse is always partially at fault in the court of public opinion. He must have been neglectful. She must have been unhappy. There are two sides to every story. Except, sometimes there aren't. Sometimes there's just truth and lies. Sometimes there's just someone who kept their vows and someone who broke them. Sometimes it really is that simple. The laptop chimes. Email from Margaret with 3 attachments. Subject line, Discovery Preview. Enjoy. I open the first attachment. It's a financial analysis I requested last week. A complete accounting of every dollar Sarah spent during the affair. Hotels, dinners. A weekend trip to Napa that she told me was a teaching conference but was actually a romantic getaway with Richard. New lingerie charged to our joint credit card. Jewelry I never saw her wear. 1,000 small expenditures that add up to $23,847. $23,847. That's what the affair cost in direct expenses. My money, partially. Our money. The money we were supposed to be saving for Mia's braces. Jackson's summer camp. The kitchen renovation we'd been planning for 2 years. Instead, she spent it on motel rooms and champagne and whatever else you buy. When you're pretending your life is a romance novel instead of a marriage with responsibilities and children and promises that are supposed to mean something. The second attachment is Richard's personnel file. Margaret must have gotten it from Jennifer's attorney, who must have pulled it during their own discovery process. I scanned through it quickly. Salary, $340,000 annually. Bonuses, stock options. The man is wealthy, genuinely wealthy. In a way I'll never be, and married, with 3 kids of his own, 2 of them in college. He risked all of it, the job, the marriage, the relationship with his children for an affair with a subordinate's wife, for stolen afternoons and secret messages, and the thrill of something forbidden. The stupidity is breathtaking. The arrogance, even more so. There's a note at the bottom of the file from Margaret. HR investigation opened yesterday. He's on administrative leave pending review. Company has strict anti-fraternization policies. He's probably going to be terminated. Just thought you'd want to know. Terminated. Fired. His career, his reputation, everything he built over 25 years, with the firm gone, because he couldn't keep his hands off a married woman. Because he thought the rules didn't apply to him. Because he believed he could have everything and the cost would be borne by someone else. I should feel satisfied, vindicated, pleased that consequences are materializing for both of them. Instead, I feel hollow, empty, like watching a building collapse that I used to live in. Yes, it needed to come down. Yes, it was structurally unsound, but that doesn't mean you don't mourn what was inside, what's lost in the demolition. The third attachment is the one that makes my stomach clench. It's a transcript. A recording, actually, that's been transcribed. From yesterday. From the house. Margaret's note explains. Linda installed a recording app on her phone before confronting Sarah yesterday evening. Thought you should see what was said. Warning, it's rough. I almost closed the file. Almost decide I don't need to know, don't want to know. that some doors are better left closed. But I've come this far. I've documented everything else. Might as well see this too. The transcript starts with timestamps. 1847 Linda. Sarah, we need to talk. 1847. Sarah. Mom. Not now. I need to find David. I need to explain. 1848 Linda. Explain what? That you've been sleeping with his boss for 6 months? That you've been lying to all of us? That you spent thousands of dollars on an affair while telling your husband you were working late? 1848. It's not. It's more complicated than that. 1848 Linda. No, honey. It's exactly as simple as that. You made choices. Choices that hurt people. Choices that broke your family. 1849. Sarah, you don't understand. David and I, we've been distant for years. We barely talk anymore. I was lonely. Richard made me feel. 1849. Linda, feel what? Special? Desired? Sarah, you're 37 years old with 2 children. You don't get to blow up your life because someone made you feel special. That's not how marriage works. 1850 Sarah, you're supposed to be on my side. 1850 Linda, I am on your side. That's why I'm telling you the truth. You did this. Not David, not circumstances. You. And now you need to own it. I stop reading, put the laptop aside, walk to the bathroom and splash cold water on my face because I can feel something building in my chest, some combination of grief and rage and validation that threatens to overwhelm me. Linda said it. Said what I needed to hear but couldn't say myself. Not complicated, not justified, not understandable, just wrong, just choices, just betrayal wearing the mask of romantic narrative. I force myself to keep reading. 1852. Sarah, where is he? Where are the kids? 1852 Linda, the kids are safe. That's all you need to know right now. 1853. Sarah, what does that mean? Mom, those are my children. I have a right. 1853. Linda, you have a right? You forfeited rights when you prioritized your affair over your family. When you lied to David's face every single day. When you used your children as cover stories for your deception. 1854. I didn't use the kids. I would never. 1854. Linda, you told David you were at Jackson's soccer game 3 weeks ago. You were actually at Richard's apartment. I know because Jackson told me you weren't there. He noticed. Your 6-year-old son noticed his mother was missing and lied about where she was. There's a long pause in the transcript. Then, 1856. Crying. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. 1856. But it did happen, and now you have to deal with the consequences. 1857. What consequences? What is David going to do? 1857 Linda. What do you think he's going to do? He's filing for divorce. He's seeking primary custody. He's documented everything, Sarah. Everything. Every lie, every absence, every dollar you spent. You're not going to be able to spin this. You're not going to be able to claim he's being unfair. The evidence is overwhelming. 1858. Sarah, he can't take my children. I won't let him take my children. 1858. Then you should have thought about that before you spent 6 months choosing Richard over them. The transcript ends there. I sit with it for a long time, reading it again, then again, memorizing the parts where Linda defends me, where she refuses to accept Sarah's excuses, where she speaks the truth that Sarah doesn't want to hear. My phone buzzes. Margaret. Pembroke is negotiating, wants to talk settlement before Friday. Says Sarah is willing to concede primary custody in exchange for you withdrawing the evidence from public distribution. Thoughts? I read the message 3 times. Let the implications settle. She's willing to give up the kids. Not because she doesn't love them, I believe she does, in whatever capacity she's still capable of love, but because she's prioritizing damage control. Because she's more worried about her reputation, her job, her relationship with Richard than she is about fighting for her children. Or maybe she knows she'd lose that fight. Maybe Pembroke told her the evidence is too strong, the documentation too thorough, the appearance too damning. Maybe she's cutting her losses, salvaging what she can, accepting defeat on the custody front to minimize the professional and social consequences. Either way, it tells me everything I need to know about where her priorities actually lie. I type back to Margaret. Counteroffer. Primary custody to me. Standard visitation for her. Child support based on state guidelines. Equitable division of remaining assets. But the evidence stays public. It's already out there. Can't unring that bell. And I won't lie to protect her reputation when she didn't hesitate to destroy mine. Margaret's response is immediate. Brutal. Effective. I'll draft the counterproposal. Brutal. Maybe. But brutality has its place, has its moment, has its purpose when gentleness has been exploited, when mercy has been mistaken for weakness, when every kindness you've extended has been weaponized against you. I'm done being kind, done being understanding, done absorbing damage while pretending it doesn't hurt. The sun is fully up now, streaming through the thin motel curtains, turning the ugly room slightly less ugly. I grab my jacket, my laptop, the burner phone. Checkout is at 11. I have 4 hours to figure out where I'm going next, what city, what state, how far I need to run before I can stop running. But first, I text Linda. Thank you for what you said to her, for telling her the truth. I know that wasn't easy. Her response comes quickly. She's my daughter. But you're not wrong. And those children deserve better than parents who lie. I'm sorry I didn't see this sooner. Sorry I didn't speak up when I should have. Not your fault. Not your responsibility to police her choices. Maybe not, but I raised her to be better than this. I failed somewhere. You didn't fail. She did. There's a difference. I pocket the phone, step outside into the morning air. It's warmer now, the chill of night burned away by the rising sun. Somewhere, Sarah is waking up to her second day of consequences. Somewhere, Richard is contemplating unemployment and divorce. Somewhere, my children are eating breakfast with their grandmother, trying to make sense of why their world has shifted, why Dad is gone, why Mom keeps crying. And somewhere right here, in this parking lot, in this moment, I'm taking the first real breath I've taken in 6 months. The breath of someone who told the truth, who refused to be silent, who chose dignity over convenience. It hurts. God, it hurts. But it's honest pain. Clean pain. The pain of healing, not the pain of slow poison. I get in my car, start the engine, point it north, and drive. 3 days later, I'm in a cabin 200 miles north, surrounded by pine trees and silence. It's not much a rental I found online. 1 bedroom, small kitchen, a porch that overlooks a lake, so still it looks like glass. The kind of place people come to disconnect, to find themselves, to pretend that distance from their problems equals solution to their problems. I'm not that naive. I know my problems are portable, that they live in my head and my phone and the stack of legal documents in my laptop bag. But at least here, the silence feels intentional. Chosen. Not the silence of absence, but the silence of space. My lawyer has been busy. The custody counterproposal went through yesterday morning. Pembroke responded within 3 hours a record, Margaret said, which means Sarah is desperate, which means she knows exactly how weak her position is. They're accepting most of our terms. Primary physical custody to me. Sarah gets alternate weekends and 1 evening per week. Holiday schedule to be determined. Child support calculated at 17% of her income per state guidelines. The only sticking point is the evidence. Pembroke is still pushing for me to issue a retraction, to somehow recall the photographs and documents I sent to the school board, to Richard's wife, to anyone who had a right to know they were being lied to. But you can't retract truth. Once it's out, it exists. It spreads. It becomes part of the permanent record, the way Sarah's lies were part of the permanent record of our marriage, documented in text messages and credit card statements and hotel receipts. Margaret's strategy is simple. Wait them out. Let Sarah twist in the wind of consequences. Let her attorney spend billable hours arguing for something we both know is impossible. Meanwhile, we're building the custody case, documenting my fitness as a parent, establishing the stability I can provide versus the chaos she's created. I spend my mornings on video calls with Margaret, reviewing documents, signing affidavits, answering questions about my parenting history. Did I attend school events? Yes, every single one I possibly could. Parent-teacher conferences? Never missed one. Doctor's appointments? I'm the one who scheduled them, drove the kids, filled out the paperwork. Sarah was always too busy with work, with her students, with her supposed dedication to education. Except now we know what she was really busy with, who she was busy with. The afternoons I spend on the porch, laptop open, working through the financial discovery process. Because divorce isn't just emotional, it's mathematical. Every asset has to be valued, every debt assigned, every dollar accounted for and divided. The house is the biggest asset. Market value approximately $680,000, mortgage balance $290,000, equity of $390,000. But it's in my name only, purchased before the marriage, never refinanced. Legally, it's separate property. Margaret says Sarah can argue for reimbursement of community funds used for improvements. We renovated the kitchen 2 years ago, added the deck, but that's a much smaller claim than half the equity. Sarah's attorney is already making noise about it, claiming she contributed to the home's value through her presence, her homemaking, her role as a mother. Margaret laughed when she read that brief. Presence isn't a quantifiable contribution, she said. And homemaking? She was barely home. The retirement accounts are murkier. My 401k has grown to $430,000 over 13 years. Sarah has a teacher's pension, but the cash value is only about $85,000. Community property rules say we split the portion accrued during marriage, which means she's entitled to roughly half of what my 401 earned while we were together. I hate it. Hate that betrayal doesn't disqualify you from financial benefits. Hate that she can destroy the marriage and still walk away with my retirement savings. But Margaret reminds me that family law doesn't care about fault in most jurisdictions. It cares about formulas, calculations, equitable division of assets. Equitable doesn't mean fair, she told me. It just means according to the rules. You want fair? That's what the custody arrangement is for. That's where we make her pay. Make her pay. Jennifer Chen's words echo in my head daily now. We've been texting, nothing romantic, nothing inappropriate, just two people comparing notes on how their spouses dismantled their lives. She's further along in her process than I am. Filed 6 months ago, apparently, when she first suspected. Spent half a year gathering evidence before Richard even knew he was being watched. I'm glad you sent those photos, she texted yesterday. My investigator got similar ones, but yours filled in gaps. He was telling me he was working late those nights. Turns out, he was just working your wife. The crudeness should bother me. Instead, it feels appropriate. There's no gentle way to describe what they did. No polite language that captures the violation, the disrespect, the casual cruelty of people who fuck their way through other people's lives without considering the collateral damage. Richard's career is over, by the way. Jennifer forwarded me the termination letter her attorney obtained through discovery, violation of company policy, inappropriate relationship with a subordinate spouse, conduct unbecoming of a senior partner. They gave him severance. They're not stupid. They know a wrongful termination lawsuit would be messier than just paying him to go away. But his partnership is dissolved, his equity bought out at fair market value, his name already being scrubbed from the firm's website. 25 years of building a reputation, gone, because he couldn't keep his dick in his pants and his hands off my wife. I should feel vindicated, and I do, partially. But mostly I feel tired of being angry, tired of calculating losses. Tired of the constant mental accounting of who owes what to whom, who hurt worse, who deserves more sympathy. The kids call every evening at 7. Linda set it up FaceTime on her iPad. Mia and Jackson crowded together on her couch, asking questions I don't know how to answer. When are you coming home, Dad? Soon, buddy. Just a few more days. Why did you leave? I had to take care of some things. Adult things. It's complicated. Is it because of Mom? That's Mia, 8 years old and already too perceptive. already reading between the lines, already understanding that the world is fracturing in ways I can't protect her from. Your mom and I are having some problems, I say carefully, but it's not your fault. None of this is your fault. You understand that, right? She nods, but her eyes are wet. Jackson just looks confused, too young to fully grasp what's happening, but old enough to know something is very wrong. After the calls, I sit on the porch and watch the lake, and try not to think about all the ways I'm failing them. Not by leaving Sarah, that had to happen. That was necessary for my survival and theirs. But by not being there, by hiding in a cabin in the woods while they navigate the aftermath. Margaret keeps telling me I'm doing the right thing. You need distance right now, she says. You need perspective. And frankly, your absence is strategic. It demonstrates to Sarah that you're serious, that you're not coming back, that this isn't a negotiation she can win. Strategic absence, tactical retreat. Every aspect of my life has become a chess move, a calculation, a gambit designed to maximize advantage in a game I never wanted to play. The burner phone buzzes. Another text from Jennifer. Coffee tomorrow? I'm driving up to see my sister in Portland. Could detour through wherever you are. Would be good to talk in person. I hesitate. Meeting her feels like crossing a line somehow. Even though we're both single now, both in the process of divorce, both entitled to form new connections. But the optics are bad, the wronged spouses consoling each other. The narrative practically writes itself. Sarah's attorney would have a field day, would claim I'm already moving on, already involved with someone else, already proving that I was the real problem all along. But then I think, why do I care what Sarah's attorney thinks? Why am I still trying to control the narrative, to manage appearances, to be the good guy in a story where I'm the victim? I text back, sure, there's a coffee shop in town, the Crooked Spoon. Meet at 11? Perfect. See you then. I set the phone down and immediately regret it. Not the meeting that feels fine, necessary even, but the timing. Margaret will not be happy. She'll say I'm creating ammunition for the opposition, giving them something to use against me, demonstrating poor judgment during sensitive negotiations. But I'm so tired of being strategic. So tired of every decision being filtered through the lens of how it will play in court, how it will look in documents, how it will be weaponized in the endless litigation of a marriage that's already dead. Maybe that's what Sarah and Richard felt. Maybe that's how affairs start, not with grand passion or soul-deep connection, but with exhaustion, with being tired of calculating and managing and performing, with wanting something that feels spontaneous and unconsidered and free, except their freedom came at my expense. Their spontaneity was built on my ignorance. Their lack of consideration was exactly the problem. So no, I don't get to make the same excuses. I don't get to claim that meeting Jennifer is somehow equivalent to what they did, because I'm not lying. I'm not hiding. I'm not betraying anyone or breaking any promises. I'm just having coffee with someone who understands, someone who's been through the same fire and came out the other side with burns that match mine. The evening stretches out long and quiet. I make dinner, pasta, jar sauce, nothing elaborate, and eat it on the porch while the sun sets over the lake. The beauty of it feels almost offensive. How dare the world be this peaceful when my life is in pieces? How dare the sunset be this gorgeous when my marriage is ash? But the world doesn't care about my problems. The lake doesn't adjust its stillness to match my turmoil. The pine trees don't stop swaying just because I'm suffering. There's something oddly comforting in that, in the indifference of nature, in the reminder that I'm small, that my pain is small, that the universe will keep spinning regardless of whether David and Sarah can figure out custody arrangements. My real phone is still off, still buried in my bag, still accumulating messages I refuse to read. Margaret keeps asking if I want summaries of Sarah's attempts to contact me. Apparently she's sent dozens of emails, left countless voicemails, even tried to reach me through old college friends she found on social media. But I don't want summaries. Don't want to know what she's saying, what justifications she's crafting, what version of events she's created where somehow this is all a terrible misunderstanding that we can work through if I just listen. Because there's nothing to work through. You can't work through betrayal. You can't negotiate your way past 6 months of systematic deception. You can't have a productive conversation with someone who's proven they'll lie to your face while planning your replacement. The only conversation worth having now happens through attorneys, through documents, through the cold, clinical language of dissolution. My laptop chimes. Email from Margaret with the subject line, "Draft Settlement Agreement. Review as soon as possible." I open it. 53 pages of legal language, clauses and subclauses, definitions and stipulations. The complete dismantling of a marriage reduced to Microsoft Word formatting and numbered paragraphs. Section 2.1. Division of real property. Section 2.2. Division of personal property. Section 2.3. Retirement accounts. Section 2.4. Debts and liabilities. Section 3. Child custody and visitation. This is the section that matters. The section where our children become a schedule, a calendar, a series of exchanges and transitions. Primary physical custody to petitioner may. Legal custody, joint, but with tie-breaking authority to petitioner on major decisions regarding education, healthcare, religion. Respondent Sarah receives alternate weekends from Friday 6 p.m. to Sunday 6 p.m. plus one evening per week, Wednesdays 5 p.m. to 8 p.m., plus alternating holidays per attached schedule. Child support calculated at $1,847 per month based on respondent's gross monthly income of $8,200 and state guideline formula. It's everything I wanted, everything I fought for, everything the evidence entitled me to. So why does reading it feel like loss instead of victory? Because it is loss. Regardless of custody percentages and visitation schedules, my kids are growing up in a broken home. They're going to pack bags every other weekend. They're going to have 2 bedrooms, 2 sets of toys, 2 birthday celebrations. They're going to learn that promises can be broken, that love can end, that the stability they took for granted was always conditional. And I couldn't stop it, couldn't prevent it, could only document it and litigate it and try to minimize the damage. I scroll to Section 4, Mutual Release and Indemnification. Legal jargon that basically means we agree not to sue each other for anything else, not to make further claims, to consider all debts settled and all grievances resolved. Except you can't resolve grief with paperwork. You can't settle heartbreak through mutual release. You can't indemnify yourself against the ongoing pain of watching your family disintegrate. But you can create boundaries. You can establish rules. You can impose structure on chaos and call it closure even if it doesn't feel closed at all. I send Margaret a message. Agreement looks good. Ready to proceed. Her response is immediate. You're sure? Once we send this, we're committed. No going back. Am I sure? Is anyone ever sure when they're ending a marriage, divorcing the person they once promised forever to, rearranging their entire life around the absence of someone who used to be their center? But sure or not, it's happening. The train is already moving. I can either sit in the passenger car and watch the scenery change, or I can throw myself onto the tracks and get crushed. I choose the passenger car. I'm sure. Send it. Done. Pembroke will have it by morning. He'll probably want to negotiate some minor points, but the framework is solid. We should have something signed within 2 weeks. 2 weeks. 14 days. 336 hours until my marriage is officially over, until the paperwork catches up with the reality, until what's been dead for months is finally buried properly. I close the laptop. Walk back outside. The stars are out now. Millions of them. Visible in a way they never were in the city. Another reminder of scale, of perspective, of how small my problems are against the vastness of everything else. But they don't feel small. They feel enormous, all-consuming, like the only thing in the universe that matters is this pain, this betrayal, this ending. Tomorrow I'll meet Jennifer. Tomorrow I'll take another step toward whatever comes next. Tomorrow I'll try to be someone who's moving forward instead of someone who's just running away. But tonight, I let myself grieve. Let myself feel the full weight of loss. Let myself acknowledge that even justified endings hurt, that even necessary departures leave scars, that you can be right and still be broken. The lake is perfectly still, the trees are silent, and somewhere, 200 miles south, my children are sleeping in their grandmother's house, dreaming of a world that doesn't exist anymore. I hope their dreams are kind. I hope they wake up okay. I hope we all do. The Crooked Spoon is exactly what you'd expect from a small-town coffee shop: exposed brick, mismatched furniture, a chalkboard menu, advertising seasonal lattes with names like Maple Whisper and Autumn Reverie. The kind of place that probably doubles as a community center, where everyone knows everyone, where the barista remembers your order after the second visit. I'm early, deliberately. I arrive at 10:47, order a black coffee, and claim a corner table where I can see the door. Old habits from business meetings, from always wanting the strategic position, from needing to see people coming before they see you. Jennifer arrives exactly at 11. I recognize her immediately. Even though we've never met, there's something about the way she moves, purposeful but hesitant, the body language of someone who's been hurt and is still learning how to trust the world again. She's wearing jeans and a simple sweater, her dark hair pulled back in a ponytail, minimal makeup. Pretty in an understated way. Though pretty feels like the wrong word, too superficial for what I notice, which is more about presence than appearance. She spots me, waves, orders something complicated at the counter, the Maple Whisper. As it turns out, then joins me at the table. "David," she says, extending her hand. "Jennifer, thanks for driving out of your way." Honestly, I needed the excuse. Sitting in my house with my thoughts was getting dangerous. She settles into the chair across from me, wraps her hands around the coffee cup, even though it's probably too hot to drink. "How are you holding up?" How am I holding up? The question everyone asks. The question nobody really wants answered honestly. Because the truth is too messy, too raw, too much emotional labor for casual conversation. But looking at her, I realize she actually wants to know. She's not asking out of politeness or obligation. She's asking because she understands, because she's lived it, because we're speaking the same language now, the language of people who've had their lives dismantled by someone else's choices. Some days better than others, I say. Today's okay. Yesterday was harder. Tomorrow's probably going to be terrible, because I have to talk to the kids about the custody arrangement. She nods. I remember that conversation with mine. Worst thing I've ever had to do. Worse than filing. Worse than finding out about the affair. Having to explain to your children that their family is breaking and there's nothing they can do to fix it. She trails off, stares into her coffee. They shouldn't have to learn that lesson at 8 and 11 and 13. How old are yours? 19, 16, and 14 now. It's been 6 months since I filed, but I knew for almost a year before that. Spent months gathering evidence, building a case, making sure I had everything documented before I made a move. Same. 3 months of investigation before I did anything. People think that's cold, calculated. But it's self-preservation, she finishes. Because if you confront them without proof, they deny everything. They make you feel crazy. They turn it around somehow, so you're the problem for not trusting them. Exactly. The relief of being understood is almost overwhelming. Sarah gaslit me for months. Every time I questioned her, she made it about my insecurity, my jealousy, my inability to trust. Turns out, I was right the whole time. They always are. The ones being betrayed. Their instincts are screaming at them that something's wrong, but they've been conditioned to ignore their instincts, to trust the liar over their own perception. Jennifer takes a sip of her coffee, winces slightly, still too hot. Richard did the same thing. Told me I was paranoid, that I was projecting, that my suspicion was damaging our marriage more than anything he was supposedly doing. Did you ever confront him before you filed? Once, early on, when I first suspected. He cried, actually cried. Said he couldn't believe I'd think so little of him, that he'd devoted his life to our family, that he was hurt. I'd even suggest he'd betray me like that. She laughs, but there's no humor in it. I actually apologized to him. Can you believe that? I apologized for catching him in a lie. I can believe it. I did similar things. Apologized for checking her phone, for questioning her whereabouts, for not trusting her when she said she was working late. I made myself the villain in a story where I was the victim. The evidence changed everything, though. Jennifer continues, once I had photographs, once I had proof, I stopped doubting myself, stopped wondering if I was overreacting, stopped carrying the guilt of suspicion. That's why I plastered the house with the photos, I say. Not just for her to see, but for me to see, to make it undeniable, to create a visual representation of the truth so I couldn't minimize it or explain it away or convince myself it wasn't that bad. Was it cathartic? I think about that. About standing in my living room at 3 a.m., hanging photograph after photograph, each one a small rebellion against the lies, each one a piece of armor against the gaslighting. In the moment? Yes, absolutely. It felt like taking back control, like making her face consequences for once, instead of me absorbing all the damage. I pause. But afterward? Once I left, and the reality set in, less cathartic, more just, sad. Because I was destroying evidence of my own life, too. Those photos weren't just of her betrayal. They were of the death of my marriage, the end of my family, the proof that everything I'd built was hollow. Jennifer nods slowly. That's the part they don't tell you about revenge. It feels good in theory, but the execution is just more pain. Different pain, maybe. Pain you chose instead of pain inflicted on you, but still pain. We sit in silence for a moment. Around us, the coffee shop buzzes with normal life people ordering pastries, students on laptops, a mother with a stroller negotiating the narrow aisle between tables. The world continues, indifferent to our shared catastrophe. How's your divorce proceeding? I ask finally. Almost done, actually. We settled last month. Richard gets the house. I didn't want it anyway. Too many memories, and I get 70% of the liquid assets since he violated the prenup's infidelity clause. The kids were old enough to choose, and they all chose to stay with me primarily. He gets them alternate weekends, but, she shrugs, they know what he did. They know he chose an affair over the family. They're civil with him, but it's not the same. It'll never be the same. Do you feel guilty about that? About the kids being angry at him? Sometimes, when I'm being generous. But mostly, I think he earned their anger. He made choices that hurt them. He broke their trust. I didn't do that. I just refused to hide it from them. They deserved the truth. The truth. That's what this all comes down to, isn't it? Not revenge, not punishment, not even justice, really. Just truth. Making the invisible visible. Refusing to pretend everything is fine when it's shattered. Sarah's trying to negotiate. I tell her, wants me to withdraw the evidence I distributed, says it's destroying her professionally, that the school board is investigating her conduct, that she might lose her job. Are you going to? No. Margaret, my attorney, says we could use it as leverage, make her concede more on custody or finances in exchange for some kind of public retraction. But I don't want to. Because it's not leverage. It's just truth. She did what she did. People have a right to know who they're trusting with their children, with their institutions, with their own marriages. Jennifer studies me for a long moment. You're angrier than you think you are. What? You say it's about truth. And maybe it is. Partially. But there's anger there too. Righteous anger. Justified anger. But anger nonetheless. I recognize it because I felt it too. Still feel it sometimes. She's right, of course. The anger is always there, humming beneath everything else, beneath the grief, beneath the exhaustion, beneath the careful strategic planning. It's the current running through all of it, giving energy to actions that might otherwise feel too hard, too draining, too much effort for someone who just wants to curl up and disappear. I don't know how to not be angry, I admit. She lied to me for 6 months. She spent our money on another man. She used our children as alibis. She looked me in the eye every single day and performed the role of faithful wife while planning her exit. How am I supposed to feel about that? However you feel. There's no supposed to. There's just what is. Jennifer leans forward slightly. But here's what I learned. The anger is useful in the divorce. It keeps you focused, keeps you from giving in to guilt or nostalgia or the impulse to make things easy for them, because making things easy is what you've always done. But after the divorce? After the papers are signed and the assets are divided and the custody schedule is set? You have to find a way to let it go, because carrying that much anger forever will destroy you worse than the betrayal did. How do you let it go when they never really apologize? When they never take real responsibility? You let it go anyway, not for them, for you. Because forgiveness isn't about them deserving it. It's about you deserving peace. I want to argue, want to say that some things don't deserve forgiveness, that some betrayals are too deep, that peace is less important than accountability. But looking at Jennifer, at the calm in her eyes, at the way she's clearly further along in this process than I am, I wonder if she's right. If the anger I'm clinging to is protecting me now, but will eventually become its own prison, is that where you are? At peace? She considers the question, getting there. Some days I wake up and don't think about him at all. Don't wonder what he's doing, or who he's with, or whether he's sorry. Those days feel like victory. Other days, I'm still so angry I could scream. Still want to call him and ask why, even though I know the why doesn't matter. The what is what matters. The what being the affair. The what being the affair. The what being the choice. He chose himself over us, over me, over the kids, over the life we built. And maybe there were reasons, maybe I wasn't perfect, maybe the marriage had problems I didn't see, but none of that justifies what he did. Problems get discussed, issues get addressed. You don't just blow everything up because you're unhappy. My phone buzzes. Margaret. I glance at the screen. Call me when you can. Development in negotiations. I silence it. Return my attention to Jennifer. Sorry, my attorney. Mine text constantly too. They live for this stuff. The drama, the strategy, the combat. She smiles slightly. Though I have to admit, Margaret Santos is excellent. I heard she's representing you. You're in good hands. You know her? Know of her. She's got a reputation. Brilliant. Ruthless. Doesn't settle for less than her client deserves. My attorney was thrilled when I told him you'd hired her. Said Richard's firm should be terrified. Richard's firm. The place I used to work. Used to respect. Used to see as my professional future. Now it's just the location of my betrayal. The setting where my boss decided my wife was available. Where two people conducted their affair in supply closets and empty conference rooms while I worked late trying to impress the man who was sleeping with my wife. The irony would be funny if it weren't my life. Have you seen Richard since the separation? I ask. Twice. Once at the settlement mediation. Once when he came to pick up the kids. Both times, he tried to talk to me. Wanted to explain. Wanted to apologize. Wanted to make me understand that it wasn't about me. That he still cared about me. That he never meant to hurt anyone. What did you say? Nothing. I just looked at him until he stopped talking. Because there's nothing he could say that would matter. No explanation that would change anything. No apology that would undo the damage. So why waste breath on it? I like that. The economy of it. The refusal to engage in a conversation that only serves the person who caused the harm. Sarah will want that conversation too, eventually. Will want her chance to explain, to justify, to make me see her side. But her side doesn't matter. There's no perspective from which systematic deception becomes acceptable. Are you going to stay in the area? Jennifer asks, after everything is settled. I don't know yet. Part of me wants to run. New city, new job, fresh start, where nobody knows me as the guy whose wife cheated on him with his boss. But the kids are settled here. Their school, their friends, their grandmother. Uprooting them on top of everything else feels cruel. It is cruel. Take it from someone who tried. I moved 2 towns over. Thought that would be enough distance. But the kids hated it. New schools, no friends, everything unfamiliar when their whole world was already unstable. We moved back after 4 months. Now I live 3 streets from Richard and his new apartment. I see him at the grocery store sometimes. It's terrible. Do you regret moving back? No, because it wasn't about me. It was about them. About giving them some stability, some continuity, some sense that not everything in their lives was changing. She pauses. That's the thing about being a parent through divorce. Your pain becomes secondary. Your need for escape, for distance, for a fresh start, all of it takes a back seat to what they need. And what they need is for at least one parent to put them first. At least one parent. The implication is clear. Sarah didn't. Richard didn't. They both chose their own desires over their children's stability. So now it falls to us, the betrayed spouses, to be the stable ones, the responsible ones, the ones who sacrifice our own needs for theirs. It's not fair. But then, none of this is fair. My phone buzzes again. Margaret, persistent. I look at Jennifer apologetically. I should probably take it. I understand. Crisis management is a 24-hour job right now. I step outside, into the cool morning air. Answer on the 4th ring. David, good news, Pembroke called. Sarah's willing to sign the settlement as written. No further negotiation, no changes to custody or financials. She wants this done. I should feel relieved. Victorious, even. This is everything I wanted: primary custody, favorable terms, a clean break. But instead, I feel hollow. What's the catch? No catch. I think she's just broken. Her attorney said she's facing a disciplinary hearing at work next week. The school board is considering suspension pending investigation. And apparently Richard's being investigated for some kind of financial impropriety at his firm, something about mixing personal and business expenses, charging affair-related costs to company accounts. It's a mess. She just wants to cut her losses. When can we finalize? Mater, I'm drafting the final documents now. If she signs by Friday, we can file by Monday. You could be legally divorced by the end of next week. End of next week. 7 days. 168 hours until 13 years of marriage becomes a court record, a case number, a file in a cabinet somewhere. Do it, I say. Draft everything. Let's finish this. You got it. And David, you should feel good about this. You protected yourself. You protected your kids. You refused to be a doormat. That takes strength. Strength. Everyone keeps using that word. But I don't feel strong. I feel exhausted, depleted, like I've won a war by destroying the country I was trying to save. I end the call, turn to find Jennifer standing in the doorway of the coffee shop, watching me with an expression that's part sympathy, part understanding. Divorce finalized? She asks. Soon, maybe next week. Then what? Then I figure out how to be a single father, how to rebuild a life, how to trust anyone ever again. I laugh, but it sounds bitter. You know, normal post-divorce stuff. It gets easier, she says. Not easy, but easier. You learn to live with the scars. You learn that broken things can still function. You learn that you're stronger than you thought you were. Do you believe that? That you're stronger? She thinks about it, really thinks about it, not just offering platitudes or empty reassurance. Some days, she says finally, some days I feel like I survived a war. Other days I feel like I'm still bleeding. But I'm here. I'm standing. I'm moving forward. That has to count for something. It does count. It counts for everything. We say goodbye in the parking lot, a hug that lasts longer than expected, the embrace of two people who understand each other's damage. She gives me her real number, not just the burner. Says to call if I need to talk, if the anger gets too heavy, if the silence gets too loud. I watch her drive away. Then I get in my own car and just sit there, engine off, staring at the steering wheel. Next week, I'll be divorced, single, officially severed from the person I thought I'd spend my life with. And then I'll have to figure out what comes after the ending. How to build something new from the ruins. How to be whole again when half of you has been amputated. How to trust that the next chapter won't be just another betrayal waiting to happen. I start the engine, point the car back toward the cabin, and drive. The call comes at 6:47 p.m., exactly on schedule. I've been dreading it all day. Spent the afternoon pacing the cabin, rehearsing words that feel inadequate no matter how I arrange them. How do you explain divorce to an 8-year-old and a 6-year-old? How do you tell them their family is breaking without breaking them in the process? Linda's face fills the screen first, her expression cautious, sympathetic. They've been asking questions all day. She says quietly, "I told them you'd explain everything. I hope that's okay." "It's fine. Thanks for everything." She nods, steps aside, and suddenly Mia and Jackson are there, crowded together on the couch, their faces so familiar and beloved that my chest physically hurts looking at them. "Dad!" Jackson yells, all enthusiasm, as if this is a normal call, as if nothing catastrophic has happened. 6 years old and still young enough to believe the world is fundamentally safe. Mia is quieter. She studies me through the screen, her eyes, Sarah's eyes, unfortunately searching for something. Truth, maybe. Reassurance. Some sign that I'm still her father, still the person who makes her feel safe. "Hey guys, how was school?" Jackson launches into a story about his art project, something involving too much glue and a misunderstanding about where scissors are supposed to be used. I listen, laugh in the right places, pretend my heart isn't disintegrating. Mia doesn't say anything, just watches, waiting. Finally, I can't avoid it anymore. "Mia, sweetheart, what's on your mind?" She glances at Jackson, then at Linda, then back at me. "Are you and Mom getting divorced?" The question lands like a punch, direct, unavoidable. 8 years old and already cutting through the pretense to the heart of things. Jackson stops talking about glue, looks at his sister, then at me, his expression shifting from cheerful to confused. What's divorced? It means Mia starts, then stops, looks to me to finish. I take a breath. This is it. The moment that changes everything for them, the moment their childhood splits into before and after. Divorced means that Mom and I aren't going to be married anymore. We're going to live in different houses, and you're going to spend time with both of us, but we won't all live together as a family. Jackson's face crumples. Why not? Because sometimes adults have problems they can't fix. Sometimes people who love each other or used to love each other decide they need to live separately. "Did you stop loving Mom?" Mia asks. Her voice is small, careful, like she's afraid of the answer. This is the trap. The place where I could poison them against their mother, could tell them the truth about what she did, could make them understand that this isn't my fault. But they're 8 and 6. They don't need the full truth. They need the truth they can carry. Your mom and I, we grew apart. We want different things now. And we realized we'd be happier and better parents to you if we weren't married anymore. But I don't want you to be happier in different houses, Jackson says, and his eyes are filling with tears. I want you to be happier together. I want us all to be together. God, this hurts. This hurts worse than discovering the affair, worse than the sleepless nights, worse than any of the legal proceedings, because this is real damage. This is harm I can't undo, pain I can't prevent, loss I can't compensate for. I know, buddy. I know you do. And I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that things are changing in a way you don't want. But you need to know that this is not your fault. Nothing you did caused this. Nothing you could have done would have prevented it. This is about Mom and me, not about you. Then why do we have to suffer for it? Mia asks, and the sophistication of the question catches me off guard. 8 years old and already understanding that collateral damage exists, that innocent parties pay prices for other people's choices. You're right, it's not fair. You shouldn't have to go through this. But you are going through it, and I'm going to do everything I can to make it easier. To make sure you feel loved and safe and stable even though things are changing. Where are you? Jackson asks suddenly. Why aren't you here? Why did you leave us? The accusation in his voice, unintentional but devastating, makes me want to crawl through the screen, to hold him, to prove that I haven't abandoned them, even though it feels exactly like abandonment from his perspective. I'm staying away for a few days while Mom and I work out some details about how this is going to work. But I'm coming back soon, by the end of this week. And when I come back, we're going to set up a schedule, so you'll know exactly when you'll be with me and when you'll be with Mom. I want to be with you both, Jackson insists, stubborn, still believing that wanting something hard enough makes it possible. I know, and you'll still see both of us, just not at the same time, not in the same house. Mia is quiet, processing. I can see the calculations happening behind her eyes, the adjustment to a new reality she didn't choose and can't control. Will we have to move? She asks finally. No, the house is staying the same. You'll live there most of the time, with me, and Mom will get her own place, and you'll visit her on weekends and some evenings. Why do we live with you and not Mom? Because she chose an affair over her family. Because she lied for 6 months. Because the evidence shows she prioritized her relationship with my boss over her responsibilities as a mother. Because the court agreed that I'm the more stable parent. But I don't say any of that. Can't say any of that. Because my job lets me be home more. Because you're already settled in that house, in that school district. Because we all decided this arrangement would be best for you. Did Mom decide that? Mia presses. Or did you decide for her? Smart kid. Too smart. Already understanding that power dynamics exist, that decisions get made by some people about other people, that we all decided, is sometimes code for someone lost and someone won. The grown-ups decided together, I say, which is technically true. Sarah agreed to the terms, even if she agreed under duress, even if she had no real choice given the evidence. But what matters is that you're going to be okay. Both of you. This is hard right now, and it's going to be hard for a while, but we're all going to get through it. Together? Jackson asks, hopefully. Separately but together, we'll still be a family, just a different kind of family. The conversation continues for another 20 minutes. Jackson asks logistical questions. Will he have 2 bedrooms? Will his toys be in both places? Will he celebrate his birthday twice? Mia asks deeper ones. Will Mom be sad? Will I be lonely? Will they have to choose which parent they love more? I answer as honestly as I can, without destroying what's left of their childhood. Yes to 2 bedrooms. Yes to toys in both places. Yes to 2 birthday celebrations if they want. No, they never have to choose. No, loving one parent doesn't mean betraying the other. No, this doesn't mean family is over. It just means family is changing shape. By the time we hang up, I'm exhausted, emotionally wrung out. I've just had to explain the end of their world in terms they can understand without giving them the full weight of adult betrayal and consequence. Linda texts me after, they're processing. Mia is quiet. Jackson is asking if you hate Mommy. I told him no, that adults can separate without hate. I hope that's okay. I text back, that's fine. Thank you. I'll call again tomorrow. But I don't hate Sarah. That's the strange part. I should hate her. The evidence certainly supports hatred, the lies, the deception, the financial betrayal, the emotional manipulation. But hatred requires energy I don't have, requires caring enough to sustain the emotion. What I feel is closer to indifference. She's become irrelevant to me. A person I used to know, used to love, used to plan a future with. Now she's just someone I share children with. Someone I'll have to coordinate with for the next 12 years until Jackson turns 18. Someone who will exist in my life as a logistical necessity, not an emotional connection. The cabin feels especially empty tonight. I make dinner, frozen pizza, the kind of meal I would have been embarrassed to serve when I had a family to feed properly, and eat it mechanically, tasting nothing. My laptop is open on the table. I pull up the custody calendar Margaret sent over. Color-coded, obsessively detailed. Blue days are mine, the majority. Green days are Sarah's alternate weekends, Wednesday evenings. Yellow days are holidays, split according to a complex formula that ensures neither parent gets all the important days. Thanksgiving this year, mine. Christmas Eve, hers. Christmas Day, mine. New Year's, hers. Mia's birthday in March, shared, party at 2 p.m., both parents expected to attend and behave civilly. Jackson's birthday in August, same arrangement. Mother's Day, hers, obviously. Father's Day, mine. Every birthday, every holiday, every milestone carved up and assigned like assets in a settlement agreement. This is what we've reduced ourselves to. A schedule, a calendar, a series of exchanges where children get passed between parents, like packages, where transitions happen in parking lots or on doorsteps, where family time is measured in hours and documented in case management systems. The tragedy isn't just that the marriage ended. The tragedy is how clinical the aftermath is, how love gets reduced to legal language, how years of shared life become line items in a separation agreement, how children become custody percentages and child support calculations. My phone rings. Not the burner, my actual phone, which I've finally powered back on because avoiding it was becoming more stressful than engaging with it. It's an unknown number. I almost don't answer, but something, curiosity, masochism, the faint hope that it might be someone who matters, makes me pick up. David? A male voice, familiar but not immediately placeable, speaking. It's Richard. I should hang up, should end the call immediately, refuse to engage, maintain the boundaries my attorney has repeatedly emphasized, but shock keeps the phone pressed to my ear. How did you get this number? From the firm's directory. Look, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, but I need to talk to you. I need to explain. There's nothing to explain. Please, just 5 minutes. I know I fucked up. I know I destroyed your marriage, destroyed my own marriage, destroyed everything. But you deserve to hear, I deserve nothing from you. I interrupt. You're my boss who slept with my wife. There's no explanation that makes that acceptable. No context that makes it understandable. No apology that changes anything. I know that. But I need to say it anyway. I need you to know that it wasn't about you. You're a good man, David. A good husband. A good father. This was about me being weak and selfish and... Stop. My voice is harder than I expected. Don't try to absolve me. Don't try to make me feel better by saying I was good and it wasn't my fault. I know it wasn't my fault. I don't need your validation. I don't need your confession. I don't need anything from you except distance. There's silence on the other end. Then, fair enough. I wanted to apologize for what it's worth. It's worth nothing. An apology is supposed to restore something, to repair damage. You can't repair this. The damage is permanent. The trust is gone. The marriage is over. My kids are traumatized. Your family is destroyed. An apology doesn't change any of that. Then what does? His voice is quieter now, almost desperate. What do I do to make this right? Nothing. You do nothing. You stay away from me, stay away from my family, and you live with what you've done. That's all that's left. I hang up before he can respond, stare at the phone in my hand, half expecting him to call back, but he doesn't. The silence that follows is profound. I've just spoken to the man who helped destroy my life, and I felt nothing. No rage, no satisfaction, no catharsis. Just a dull acknowledgement that he exists, and I wish he didn't. Margaret texts. Heard Richard called you. You okay? Fine. Conversation was brief. Good. Keep it that way. No more contact. Anything he wants to say goes through attorneys. Understood. I set the phone down. Walk to the window. The lake is dark now. The sun fully set. Just the reflection of stars on black water. Tomorrow, I drive home. Tomorrow, I return to the house, covered in photographs. To the life that's been dismantled. To the reality I've been avoiding by hiding in this cabin. Tomorrow, I start the actual work of rebuilding. Not just legally, not just logistically, but emotionally, psychologically. Learning how to be a single father. Learning how to trust my judgment again after being so thoroughly deceived. Learning how to exist in a world where the person you loved most turned out to be the person you knew least. The kids' faces are still vivid in my mind. Jackson's tears, Mia's questions, their confusion and pain, and the terrible understanding that their world has irrevocably changed. I did that to them. Not alone Sarah shares equal or greater responsibility, but I participated. I chose to expose the affair in the way I did. I chose to leave. I chose to fight for primary custody. I chose a course of action that was legally sound but emotionally devastating for everyone involved. Was I right to do it? Legally, yes. Strategically, yes. Morally, I don't know anymore. The lines blur when you're in the middle of it, when every decision is made in the context of pain and betrayal, and the desperate need to protect yourself from further harm. Maybe that's what Richard was trying to say. Not that his affair was justified, but that people make choices from within their own context, their own pain, their own limited perspective. That everyone is the hero of their own story, even when they're the villain of someone else's. But no, that's too generous. Some choices are just wrong. Some betrayals can't be contextualized away. Some damage is inexcusable, regardless of the internal narrative. He made his choices. Sarah made hers. And I made mine. Now we all live with the consequences. I close the laptop, turn off the lights, lie down in the dark, and wait for sleep that probably won't come. Tomorrow, I go home. Tomorrow, I face what I've created. Tomorrow, I try to be strong enough for my children to lean on, even though I feel like I'm made of paper, like one more strong wind will tear me apart completely. But I'll do it anyway, because that's what parents do. They hold it together even when they're falling apart. They smile even when they're breaking. They provide stability even when their own foundation is crumbling. They keep going, even when they don't know how, even when they're not sure they can. They keep going. For the children. Always for the children. The house looks different in daylight. I pull into the driveway at 11:23 a.m. on Friday morning. 7 days after I left. 7 days that feel like 7 years. The lawn needs mowing. I can see that from here. The grass slightly overgrown, dandelions claiming territory in the flower beds. The recycling bin is still at the curb from Tuesday's pickup. Small signs of neglect. Small evidences of absence. My absence. The key still fits the lock, which feels strange. Like I expected the house to have changed its mind about me, to have rejected my entry, to have become foreign territory in the week I've been gone. But the door opens easily, and I step inside. The photographs are gone. Every single one. The walls are bare except for the small holes where I'd hammered in nails, evidence of evidence, marks that will need to be filled and painted over. Someone, Sarah, probably, or maybe Linda, has removed all 473 images, cleaned up the visual representation of betrayal, made the house look normal again, or at least less like a crime scene. But they didn't touch the dining room table. The documents are still there. Bank statements, credit card bills, phone records, all of it spread across the surface like a paper monument to deception. Either Sarah couldn't bear to touch them, or she left them deliberately. A counter message, a statement that says, "Fine, you made your point." I gather them up. Methodical. Organizing them back into the folders I'd so carefully prepared. Evidence for the attorney. Proof for the court. Documentation for my own sanity. For the moments when I inevitably start to doubt whether it was really that bad. Whether I overreacted. Whether I should have tried harder to save something that was already dead. The house feels empty even though it's full of furniture, full of our things, full of the accumulated debris of 13 years. But it's the wrong kind of full. The kind that emphasizes absence rather than masking it. I walk through the rooms, cataloging changes. The wedding photo from the mantel is gone. That makes sense. The family portrait from last Christmas is gone too. Several other photos featuring Sarah, or featuring all of us together, have been removed, leaving rectangular clean spots on walls that have faded around them. She's erasing herself, or trying to. Removing her image from the house that's no longer hers, the life she's no longer part of, the family she chose to leave, even if she didn't physically pack her bags and walk out. I did that for her, forced the exit she'd been planning anyway, just accelerated the timeline, made it messier and more public than she'd intended. My phone buzzes. Margaret, welcome home. Sarah's attorney confirmed she vacated the premises yesterday, took only personal items and clothes. Everything else remains for division per the settlement. She's staying with her mother until she finds an apartment. Okay. Also, and I wanted to give you a heads up on this, the school board concluded their investigation. Sarah's been placed on administrative leave, pending final review. They're not firing her outright, but they're strongly encouraging resignation. Pembroke is negotiating an exit package. I should feel vindicated. Should feel like justice is being served, like consequences are proportional, like the systems designed to hold people accountable are actually working. Instead, I feel tired. Thanks for letting me know. Kids come back to you on Sunday evening, correct? Yes. 6 p.m. Good. Get the house ready. Make it feel stable, normal. They need to see that home still exists, even if family looks different. Margaret's right, but the advice feels impossible. How do I make a house feel stable when I barely feel stable myself? How do I project normalcy when nothing is normal? When I'm sleeping alone in a bed I shared for 13 years? When I'm cooking dinner for one and setting the table for future meals for 3? After we hang up, I stand in the kitchen and try to remember what normal looked like. What did we do on Friday evenings? Movie night, usually. Pizza. Popcorn. Some animated film the kids had been begging to see. Sarah would curl up on one end of the couch, I'd take the other, Mia and Jackson would fight over who got to sit in the middle, and we'd all pretend to pay attention while mostly just enjoying being together. That was 4 months ago. Before I knew, before the evidence, before everything fractured. But it was already broken then, wasn't it? I just couldn't see the cracks. Was watching movies with a woman who was texting my boss during the boring parts. Was sharing popcorn with someone whose mind was somewhere else. Someone else. Was performing the ritual of family togetherness while the foundation was already crumbling beneath us. The doorbell interrupts my spiral. I'm not expecting anyone. For a moment, I panic. Is it Sarah? Has she come back to collect something? To say something? To force a conversation I'm not ready to have? But it's not Sarah. It's Jennifer Chen, standing on my porch with a casserole dish and an uncertain smile. I hope this isn't weird, she says immediately. I was making dinner anyway and thought you might need, I don't know, food? Company? Someone who understands? It is weird. It's absolutely weird. But it's also exactly what I need. Come in, I say, stepping aside. She enters carefully, looking around with the curiosity of someone trying to reconcile the physical space with the story she knows. I wonder what she sees. Just a normal suburban home? Or the setting of a marriage's dissolution? The stage where betrayal was discovered and documented and displayed? I took down the photographs, I say, feeling the need to explain the bare walls. I assumed you wouldn't leave them up forever. She sets the casserole on the counter. Chicken enchiladas. Nothing fancy. Just figured you probably haven't been eating properly. She's right. I've been subsisting on coffee and whatever required minimal preparation. The casserole smells amazing, like actual food prepared with care and intention. Thank you. You didn't have to. I know, but I wanted to. When I got back from Richard, the first few weeks alone were the hardest. Everyone says, you need to take care of yourself, but you can't remember how. You forget to eat, forget to sleep, forget to do anything except obsess over what happened and what's happening next. She understands, completely. And the relief of not having to explain, not having to justify, not having to translate my experience into terms someone else can understand, it's overwhelming. Do you want coffee, I ask, or something stronger? I think there's wine somewhere. Coffee's good. I'm driving back to Portland tonight. I make coffee the good stuff, not the motel swill or the cabin instant, and we sit at the kitchen table, not the dining room table, still covered with document folders. The kitchen table where we actually ate, where real life happened. How did the kids take the news? Jennifer asks. About as well as you'd expect, Jackson cried. Mia got quiet and analytical. Both of them are trying to understand something that doesn't make sense from their perspective. That's the age. Old enough to know something's wrong. Too young to understand why adults make the choices they make. She sips her coffee. Mine were older when it happened. The youngest was 14. Old enough that I couldn't protect her from the details. Old enough that she asked questions I couldn't answer without lying. Did you lie? Sometimes. When the truth would hurt more than the lie. When telling her exactly what her father did would poison her relationship with him forever. Jennifer pauses. But mostly, I told the truth. Age-appropriate truth, but truth. Because I didn't want to become another liar in her life. Didn't want her to grow up and realize I'd deceived her to protect her feelings. I think about the conversation with Mia and Jackson. About how I'd edited the story, simplified it, removed the adultery and the betrayal, and reduced it to, we want different things now. Protective lying, merciful deception. Do you regret that? I ask. Being honest with them? Some days. The days when I see how angry they are at Richard. How that anger has changed their relationship with him permanently. Other days, I think I did the right thing. That they deserve to know why their family broke, even if the knowing hurt. We sit in silence for a moment. The coffee is good. The company is good. The casserole on the counter represents care I haven't received in months. Can I ask you something? Jennifer says finally. And you can tell me it's none of my business. Okay. Do you still love her? Sarah, even after everything? The question catches me off guard. Not because it's inappropriate. We're past that, past normal social boundaries, united in our shared damage. But because I haven't let myself examine that question directly, haven't looked at it straight on. I don't know, I say slowly. I loved who I thought she was, who she was before the affair, or who I believed she was. But that person doesn't exist. Maybe never existed. So how can you love someone who isn't real? Jennifer nods. I struggled with that too, wondering if the Richard one fell in love with was ever real, or if I just invented him, projected qualities onto him that he never actually had. What did you conclude? That it doesn't matter. Real or not, that version of him is gone. And the version that remains the one who betrayed me, who lied to me, who chose an affair over our family that's not someone I can love, that's barely someone I can tolerate. But you have to tolerate him, because of the kids. Exactly. We have to find a way to coexist in their lives without destroying each other, to be civil at birthday parties and graduation ceremonies, and eventually weddings. To pretend that the person who hurt you most in the world is someone you can share space with, share children with, share milestones with. The impossibility of it feels crushing. 13 more years of coordinating with Sarah. 13 years of transitions and exchanges and forced interactions. 13 years of seeing her face and remembering what she did, what she destroyed, what she chose over us. How do you do it, I ask? How do you stand it? Therapy, lots of therapy, and time, and the realization that carrying the hatred only hurts me, not him. That being poisoned by rage is like drinking acid and expecting the other person to die. That's very zen. She laughs. It's very expensive therapy talking. Trust me, I'm not naturally this evolved. There are still days I fantasize about keying his car, or posting the affair evidence on social media, or finding creative ways to make his life miserable. Do you ever act on those fantasies? Once, early on, I sent copies of his sexts to his mother. She grins, slightly wicked. That felt amazing. For about 20 minutes. Then I felt guilty. Then I realized I'd made things worse for the kids, who now had to navigate their grandmother's disappointment on top of everything else. I think about the photographs I sent to the school board, the evidence I distributed to Richard's wife, the very public exposure of Sarah's private betrayal. Did I make things worse? For the kids? For everyone? Do you regret it? I ask. The revenge. The exposure. Jennifer considers this. No. I needed them to know. Needed his mother to understand what kind of man her son became. Needed the truth to exist outside my own head. But I wish I'd thought more carefully about the ripple effects, about how public truth creates public consequences that affect more than just the guilty parties. The doorbell rings again. This time, it is Sarah. I can see her through the window, standing on the porch, hands clasped in front of her like she's praying or pleading. She looks terrible, thinner than a week ago, her hair pulled back carelessly, wearing sweatpants and an old college t-shirt, the uniform of someone who stopped trying. Jennifer sees her too. I should go. You don't have to. I do. This is a conversation you two need to have. Or don't have. Whatever you decide. She squeezes my hand briefly. Call me if you need to talk after. She leaves through the back door, a discreet exit that saves us all from an awkward encounter. I watch her go, then turn to face the front door. Sarah is still standing there, waiting. She hasn't rung the bell again, hasn't knocked, just waiting to see if I'll answer, if I'll acknowledge her, if I'll give her the conversation she's clearly here for. I could ignore her, could pretend I'm not home, let her stand there until she gives up and leaves. That would be satisfying in a small, petty way. But the kids come home Sunday, and whatever Sarah and I are to each other now, ex-spouses, co-parents, former partners in a failed enterprise, we need to establish some kind of functional relationship, some way of existing in adjacent spaces without constant warfare. I open the door. She looks up, hopeful, desperate, like someone drowning who's just spotted land. David, she says, and her voice breaks on my name. Please, can we talk? Just for a few minutes. I need you to understand. There's nothing to understand, Sarah. I understand perfectly. You had an affair with Richard for 6 months. You lied about it repeatedly. You spent our money on it. You used our children as cover. I documented it, exposed it, and filed for divorce. That's the complete story. But it's not complete, she insists, taking a step forward. There's context, there's reasons, there's nothing that changes anything. Context doesn't undo betrayal. Reasons don't erase lies. Whatever you want to tell me, whatever explanation you've constructed, it's irrelevant. How can you say that? How can 13 years of marriage be irrelevant? I didn't say the marriage was irrelevant. I said your explanations are. The marriage is very relevant. It's the thing you destroyed. It's the thing I'm grieving. It's the thing our children are trying to understand. But your reasons for destroying it? Those don't matter. She's crying now, tears streaming down her face, and I feel nothing. No sympathy, no sadness, no urge to comfort her. She's a stranger who happens to look like someone I used to love. I made a mistake, she says. A terrible, horrible mistake. But people make mistakes, David. People mess up. That doesn't mean we throw away everything we built. That doesn't mean we can't try to. To what? Fix this? Sarah, this isn't fixable. You can't unring this bell. You can't take back 6 months of systematic deception. You can't restore trust that's been completely obliterated. So what? You just give up? You just walk away? I'm not the one who walked away. I'm the one who stayed. Who believed you every time you said you were working late. Who trusted you every time you said I was being paranoid. I stayed until the evidence was so overwhelming that staying became impossible. The photographs, she says bitterly. You humiliated me, sent them to everyone, destroyed my career, made me a pariah in my own community. Was that necessary? And there it is. Not remorse for what she did, but anger at the consequences. Not apology for the betrayal, but resentment that she got caught, that the catching was public, that the consequences extended beyond our private dissolution. Yes, I say simply, it was necessary. People deserved to know. Your school board deserved to know they employed someone who violated ethical standards. Richard's wife deserved to know her husband was unfaithful. I deserve to make visible what you'd tried to keep hidden. You're cruel. No, I'm honest. There's a difference. We stare at each other across the threshold. She's still outside, I'm still inside, and that feels metaphorically appropriate. We exist in different spaces now, different realities, different versions of what happened and what it means. The kids come home Sunday. I say finally. We need to be able to coordinate for their sake. Can we do that? Can we communicate about schedules and school events and medical appointments without this constant warfare? She nods, wiping her eyes. I can try. Trying isn't enough. Either commit to co-parenting functionally or commit to communicating only through attorneys. But we can't do this, these surprise visits, these demands for explanations, these attempts to relitigate what's already been decided. Fine. We'll coordinate through the app Margaret set up. Good. Can I see them when they get back? Before our scheduled time? No. The custody agreement is clear. You get them next weekend. We're following the schedule exactly. David, please. No. This is how it works now. We have boundaries. We have rules. We follow them. She looks like I've slapped her. Maybe I have, verbally. Maybe that's cruel too. But boundaries aren't cruelty. Rules aren't punishment. They're protection. For me, for the kids, for what's left of our ability to function as separate people with shared responsibilities. I'm sorry, she says quietly. For all of it. For everything. I know you don't believe me, but I am. I almost tell her it doesn't matter. Almost say that apologies without changed behavior are just words. But I'm tired of this conversation. Tired of her presence on my porch. Tired of the whole endless cycle of confrontation and explanation. Goodbye, Sarah. I close the door. Lock it. Stand there listening to her footsteps, retreating, her car starting, the sound of her leaving, becoming the sound of her absence, becoming the new normal silence. The casserole is still on the counter. The coffee is still warm. The house is still empty, but in a different way. Now empty of her presence, empty of her potential return, empty of anything except what comes next. I text Jennifer. She came by. It went about how you'd expect. Thanks for the casserole and the company. Her response comes immediately. Proud of you. Hold the boundary. It gets easier. Does it get easier? I don't know yet. Ask me in a year, in 5 years, in 13 years when Jackson turns 18 and the custody arrangement expires, and Sarah and I can finally stop coordinating altogether. But for now, I heat up the casserole. Set the table for one. Eat dinner alone in a house that used to be full, and try to believe that this is moving forward, not just surviving. That this is healing, not just scarring. That someday, this will be the past instead of the present. Someday, Sunday evening arrives with the weight of inevitability. I've spent the weekend preparing, cleaning the house until it gleams, stocking the pantry with the kids' favorite foods, setting up their rooms exactly as they left them. Mia's collection of stuffed animals arranged on her bed in the precise order she prefers. Jackson's superhero posters hung at the exact height where he can see them from his pillow. Everything designed to communicate continuity, stability, the illusion that home is still home, even though everything else has changed. Linda's car pulls into the driveway at 5:58 p.m. 2 minutes early. I watch from the window as she gets out, opens the back door, helps Jackson with his backpack. Mia emerges on her own, clutching a folder I recognize from school. Homework, probably, or maybe drawings, things she wants to show me, normal child things in an abnormal situation. I meet them at the door. Jackson runs to me immediately, crashes into my legs with the full force of 6-year-old enthusiasm. Dad, we're home. Grandma took us to the park, and we saw a dog that was this big. His arms spread wide, demonstrating impossible dog dimensions. I scoop him up, hold him tight, breathe in the smell of his shampoo, the same brand I always buy. Linda must have used it, maintaining that small consistency. That sounds amazing, buddy. Tell me everything. Mia hangs back, more cautious. She's watching me, the way she watched me on the video call, searching, assessing, trying to determine if I'm stable enough to lean on. Hey, sweetheart, I say, setting Jackson down and kneeling to her level. I missed you. I missed you too. Her voice is small. Then, quieter. Is Mom coming? Not tonight. You'll see her next weekend. Remember? We talked about the schedule. She nods, but her expression clouds. I wanted to say goodnight to her. You can call her before bed. We'll FaceTime so you can see her. Okay? Okay. Linda is still standing by the car, giving us space but clearly wanting to talk. I gesture her inside. They did well this week. She says once the kids have scattered to their rooms, Jackson to verify his toys are where he left them. Mia to that mysterious place 8-year-olds go when they need to process things privately. A few rough nights, some questions I couldn't answer, but overall, they're resilient. Thank you for taking them. For everything. David, I need to tell you something. She looks uncomfortable, guilt written across her features. Sarah came by 3 times this week. Wanted to see the kids outside the custody schedule. I didn't let her. I know the agreement is clear, but she's struggling. She's really struggling. I know. She came here Friday. She told me, said you wouldn't listen, said you were being unreasonable. Linda holds up a hand before I can respond. I'm not saying I agree with her. I'm just telling you what she said. And I'm telling you that she's my daughter and I love her, but what she did was wrong. What she's suffering now is consequence, not persecution. The validation means more than it should. Sarah's own mother, choosing truth over loyalty, choosing to support what's right instead of who's related. How honest have you been with the kids, I ask? About why Sarah and I split? I told them you were having problems, that sometimes adults can't work things out, that it's not their fault. She pauses. Mia asked if Mom cheated. I didn't answer directly. Just said that was something she'd need to discuss with you or her mother when she's older. So Mia knows. Or suspects. Or has overheard enough to piece together the truth. 8 years old, and already learning that adults lie, that promises break, that the fairy tale isn't real. Thank you for not giving her details she's too young for. She's going to figure it out eventually. Kids always do. They hear things, they notice patterns, they're smarter than we give them credit for. Linda's expression softens. Be careful, David. In trying to protect yourself, which you have every right to do, don't forget to protect them too. From bitterness, from hatred, from being caught in a war between their parents. I'm not making them choose sides. Not deliberately, no. But they watch you. They listen. They absorb your emotions even when you think you're hiding them. If you hate Sarah, they'll feel that. If you can't be civil, they'll internalize that conflict. I know she hurt you. I know she broke everything. But for their sake, you need to find a way to coexist that doesn't poison them. She's right, and I know it, but the knowing doesn't make it easier. How do you coexist peacefully with someone who destroyed your life? How do you smile and make pleasant small talk at school events with the person who betrayed you systematically for 6 months? I'm trying, I say. I know you are. Just keep trying. After Linda leaves, I make dinner spaghetti, Jackson's favorite, with the sauce from a jar he insists tastes better than homemade. Mia sets the table without being asked, falling into old routines, seeking comfort in the familiar. We eat together at the kitchen table, the 3 of us. There's an empty chair where Sarah used to sit. Nobody mentions it, but we're all aware of it, the absence like a 4th presence. Jackson chatters about school, about his friend Lucas who brought a lizard for show and tell, about the art project they're working on. Normal kid stuff, beautiful, mundane, ordinary life, continuing despite the earthquake that's shaken our foundation. Mia is quieter, picks at her pasta, asks careful questions. Dad? Where did Mom go? She's staying with Grandma Linda for now. She's looking for her own apartment. Why can't she stay here? Because grown-ups who aren't married anymore don't usually live together. It's better this way. Better for who? The question is sharp, pointed, older than her years. For everyone, I say, hoping it's true. Sometimes people are happier in separate spaces. Are you happy? God, no. I'm devastated. I'm grieving. I'm trying to hold myself together with duct tape and willpower and the desperate need to not fall apart in front of my children. I'm working on it, I say instead. Some days are easier than others, but having you 2 here makes every day better. She seems to accept this, returns to her pasta. but I can see the calculations happening behind her eyes. She's figuring out what she can ask, what she's allowed to know, what territory is safe versus forbidden. After dinner, we watch a movie. Something animated and colorful and aggressively cheerful. Jackson falls asleep halfway through, curled against my side. Mia makes it to the end, but barely. By 8:30, I'm carrying him to bed and walking her to her room. The tucking in routine is sacred, always has been. Stories and water, and the specific arrangement of blankets Jackson requires. The conversation about tomorrow with Mia, planning breakfast and clothes and what homework needs finishing. Can we call Mom now? Mia asks when the lights are almost off. Of course. I pull out my phone, FaceTime Sarah. She answers on the first ring, like she's been waiting, phone in hand. Hi, baby, she says, and her voice cracks on the endearment. How was your first day back? Mia tells her about dinner, about the movie, about how her room looks exactly the same. Sarah listens, asks questions, plays the role of interested mother while I stand in the doorway, monitoring, making sure the conversation stays appropriate, stays focused on Mia, rather than devolving into Sarah's attempt to communicate with me through our daughter. I miss you, Sarah says. So much. I'll see you next weekend, okay? We'll do something fun. Maybe the zoo? Okay, Mia says, but she sounds uncertain. I love you, sweetheart. Sleep well. Love you too, Mom. The call ends. Mia looks at me, and there are tears in her eyes she's trying to hide. It's okay to miss her, I say gently. It's okay to be sad about this. You can love both of us and miss having us together. That's completely normal, but you don't love her anymore. It's not a question, it's a statement, an observation, a child's conclusion drawn from evidence she's too young to have to process. I love who she was, I say carefully. I loved being married to her, but things changed. And sometimes when things change too much, love changes too. That doesn't mean what we had wasn't real. It just means it's over. Did she stop loving you first? The question is a knife. Because yes, probably, she stopped loving me long before I stopped loving her. Stopped loving me and started loving Richard. Transferred her affection, her loyalty, her future planning from me to him. I don't know, honey. That's something you'd have to ask her. I don't want to ask her. I want to ask you. Then the truth is, I don't know. I don't know when or how or why. I just know that we can't be married anymore. And that's hard for everyone. But we're going to be okay. All of us. She nods, sniffles, wipes her eyes with the back of her hand. Can you stay until I fall asleep? Of course. I sit on the edge of her bed, stroke her hair, hum the lullaby I've been humming since she was an infant. The same melody Sarah used to hum, back when we were partners in this, when we took turns with the bedtime routine, when we were a team. She falls asleep eventually. I wait an extra 10 minutes to make sure, then slip out quietly, pulling the door mostly closed behind me. Jackson is already deep asleep, one leg hanging off the bed, his arms wrapped around his favorite stuffed dinosaur. I adjust his blanket, kiss his forehead, marvel at his ability to sleep through anything. To be 6 and resilient and adaptable and unbroken. Or maybe he is broken. Maybe we're all broken, just in different ways, showing different cracks. Downstairs, the house is too quiet. I pour a glass of wine, the first alcohol I've had since this started. The first time I've let myself have anything that might lower my guard. I take it out to the back deck, sit in the darkness, listen to the suburban symphony of distant traffic and neighbors' television and the hum of the refrigerator through the open window. My phone buzzes. Jennifer, how did it go? First night back? Surprisingly okay. They're asleep now. Mia asked hard questions. Jackson was mostly just happy to be home. That's how it goes. The younger ones adapt faster. The older ones carry more weight. She asked if Sarah stopped loving me first. Ouch, what did you say? That I didn't know. Which is true. For what it's worth, the answer doesn't matter. Whether she stopped first or you stopped first, or you stop simultaneously, it doesn't change the outcome. You're both done. That's the only relevant fact. I want to believe that. Want to accept that the timeline of emotional withdrawal is irrelevant, that all that matters is the final state. But there's something particularly painful about the idea that Sarah checked out long before I did, that I was trying to save a marriage she'd already abandoned, that I was loving someone who'd already moved on. Richard tried to call me again, Jennifer says. 3rd time this week. I haven't answered. Can't imagine what he thinks he has to say, that I'd want to hear. He called me too, last week. Said he needed to apologize. Did you let him? For about 30 seconds. Then I told him his apology was worthless and hung up. Good. They don't get absolution just because they feel guilty. They don't get to unburden themselves onto us because carrying their shame is uncomfortable. We talk for another 20 minutes. About nothing and everything. About the logistics of single parenting. About the strange experience of sleeping alone after years of sharing a bed. About the moments when you forget briefly that everything changed and then remember with fresh shock. She's become something like a friend, a real one. Connected not by proximity or convenience, but by shared experience, by mutual understanding of a specific kind of pain that people who haven't lived it can't fully comprehend. I should let you go, she says finally. You need sleep. First week back is exhausting, even when it goes well. Thanks for checking in. Anytime. Seriously. 3 a.m., whenever. I've been where you are. I know how lonely it gets. After we hang up, I sit in the darkness a while longer. The wine is gone. The house is silent. Somewhere in the neighborhood, a dog barks. Someone's car alarm chirps as they lock it for the night. Normal sounds, normal life. Everyone else's world continuing uninterrupted while mine reassembles itself into something new and unfamiliar. I go back inside, lock the doors, turn off the lights, climb the stairs to the bedroom, our bedroom, now just my bedroom. The bed is still made from this morning, the right side untouched, the pillows arranged in perfect symmetry. I sleep on the left side only, haven't crossed the invisible boundary to the right, haven't claimed the full mattress as mine. Some part of me still treating the space as divided, as shared, as belonging half to someone who's gone. Tomorrow I'll have to wake up early, make breakfast, pack lunches, drive the kids to school, go to work. I've been on leave for a week, but tomorrow I return, face my colleagues, navigate the awkwardness of everyone knowing what happened. Tomorrow I start pretending to be functional, pretending the divorce isn't destroying me, pretending I'm moving forward instead of just treading water. But tonight, alone in the dark, I let myself acknowledge the truth. I'm not okay. I'm not healing. I'm not stronger. I'm just surviving. One day, 1 hour, 1 breath at a time. And for now, that has to be enough. 3 months later, the divorce is final. I'm sitting in Margaret's office when she hands me the signed decree, the official document that transforms 13 years of marriage into a legal nullity. Dissolved. That's the word they use. As if our life together was soluble, something that could be mixed with the right solution and simply disappear. Congratulations, Margaret says, though the word feels wrong for the occasion. You're officially single. Single, divorced, unmarried. Whatever label I choose, it means the same thing. The legal system has caught up with the emotional reality. What died months ago has now been properly buried, death certificate issued, estate settled. How do you feel? She asks. I don't know. I thought I'd feel something. Relief, maybe. Closure. Instead, I just feel. Nothing. That's normal. The big emotional moments already happened. The discovery, the confrontation, the separation, the legal ending is just paperwork confirming what you already knew. She closes the file. Though there is one piece of news. Sarah signed off on the final custody modification. What modification? She's requesting reduced visitation. Wants to drop from alternate weekends to 1 weekend per month. Says her work situation has become unstable, and she needs to focus on rebuilding her career. I stare at Margaret. She wants to see the kids less? According to Pembroke, she thinks it's temporary, just until she gets back on her feet professionally. But yes, she's requesting reduced time. The anger I've been holding in check for months surfaces suddenly, sharp and hot. She's abandoning them. Legally, no. She's modifying a custody arrangement with your consent. Pembroke made it very clear that if you contest this, she'll withdraw the request. Why would I contest it? If she doesn't want to see her own children, David. Margaret's voice is firm. Think carefully. This isn't about what she wants or deserves. It's about what's best for Mia and Jackson. Closier. Indalu men. Margaret's voice is firm. Margaret's voice is firm. End quote. Margaret's voice is firm. Margaret's voice is firm. Also, do they benefit from having their mother disappear from their lives? Or do they benefit from having consistent, if reduced, contact with both parents? She's right, and I hate it. Hate that I have to be the reasonable one, the one who thinks about long-term consequences, while Sarah gets to check out because her career is unstable because she had an affair with her husband's boss and got caught. But that's apparently beside the point. What do you recommend? Keep the current arrangement. Make her follow through. Make her show up for her weekends, even if it's inconvenient. Because if you let her reduce time now, next month she'll want to reduce it more, and eventually the kids will internalize that their mother chose her career again over them. I sign the papers refusing the modification. Make Sarah stick to the agreement she made. Make her be a parent, even when it's hard, even when she'd rather not, even when the consequences of her choices make showing up uncomfortable. The meeting ends. I drive home a route that's become automatic, muscle memory, the car knowing the way even when my mind is elsewhere. 3 months of this new normal. 3 months of solo parenting, of coordinating schedules through an app, of polite exchanges at custody transitions where Sarah and I speak only about logistics, never about anything real. She looks different every time I see her. Thinner, harder, older somehow. The affair's aftermath has aged her. Or maybe she was always aging and I just didn't notice, too focused on my own narrative to see the changes in hers. Richard's completely gone from both our lives. Jennifer told me he moved to Seattle, took a position at a smaller firm, started over somewhere his reputation hadn't preceded him. Sarah hasn't mentioned him, but then Sarah and I don't have conversations anymore. We have exchanges, brief, necessary, devoid of anything personal. I wonder sometimes if they still talk, if the affair continues long distance, if what they thought they had survived, the exposure, or if it died the moment consequences became real. But I don't ask, don't want to know. Their relationship, whatever it was, whatever it is, has nothing to do with me anymore. The house is empty when I arrive. The kids are at school, won't be home for another 3 hours. I've learned to navigate these pockets of solitude. These hours when I'm alone with the silence and the memories and the constant low-grade awareness that everything is different now. I pour coffee, sit at the kitchen table with my laptop, pull up the document I've been working on for weeks. A journal, I guess, though that word feels too intimate. More like a record, a chronological account of everything that happened, from the first suspicion to the final decree. Margaret suggested it. Write it down, she said. All of it. Not for legal purposes, we're past that, but for you, for processing, for making sense of something that doesn't make sense. So I've been writing. Late at night when the kids are asleep, early in the morning before they wake, lunch hours at work, cataloging the evidence, the emotions, the daily reality of a life being dismantled and rebuilt simultaneously. The document is 200 pages now, single-spaced, detailed, everything from the first unexplained credit card charge to the moment I hung the last photograph on the wall, to the conversation with Mia about whether Sarah stopped loving me first. It's supposed to be therapeutic, cathartic. The conventional wisdom says writing helps you process trauma, helps you create narrative order from emotional chaos. But reading back through it, I don't feel healed. I feel exhausted. Like I've been forcing myself to relive every painful moment, to document every betrayal, to preserve in perfect detail the worst period of my life. Why am I doing this? Who is this for? My phone rings. Unknown number. I almost don't answer. But 3 months of divorce has taught me that unknown numbers might be important schools, doctors, lawyers, the various institutions that require parental authorization and confirmation. David Reeves, speaking. This is Principal Hawthorne from Riverside Elementary. I'm calling about Mia. There's been an incident. My stomach drops.
What kind of incident? Is she hurt?
She's fine physically, but there was an altercation with another student. Some harsh words were exchanged. I think it would be best if you could come in to discuss this. 20 minutes later, I'm sitting in the principal's office while Mia sits beside me, arms crossed, face set in defiant lines I recognize from looking in the mirror. Mia called another student a liar. Principal Hawthorne explains, when the teacher intervened, she said, and I'm quoting here, "People lie all the time, and nobody does anything about it. So why should I be nice to liars?" I look at my daughter, 8 years old, and already carrying cynicism like armor. "Mia," I say gently, "what happened?" Emma said her parents never fight, said they're always happy and perfect. And I said, that's a lie, because nobody's parents are perfect, and if they don't fight, it just means they're hiding things. Her voice rises. And I'm right. People do hide things. They lie and pretend everything's fine when it's not. Principal Hawthorne looks uncomfortable. She knows our situation, small school, news, travels, the affair and divorce were probably staff room gossip for weeks. "Mia, honey," I say. "Not everyone's family is like ours. Some parents really don't fight much. Some marriages really are happy. Just because our situation is difficult doesn't mean everyone else's is." "But you didn't know Mom was lying. You thought everything was fine. So how do we know anyone's telling the truth?" The question hits harder than it should, because she's articulated something I've been feeling but haven't been able to express, the complete erosion of my ability to trust surface appearances. If Sarah could lie so thoroughly, if I could be so completely deceived, how can I trust anyone? How can I take anything at face value? And now my 8-year-old daughter is asking the same question, learning the same terrible lesson. We don't know for certain, I admit, but we have to try anyway. We have to give people the benefit of the doubt, even knowing they might disappoint us. Because the alternative is living in constant suspicion, never trusting anyone, and that's no way to live. "But you don't trust anyone anymore," she says. And she's right. She's absolutely right. I don't trust anyone, haven't let anyone close, haven't opened myself to any vulnerability since Sarah. How do I tell her to do something I can't do myself? Principal Hawthorne clears her throat. "Mia, I understand you're going through a difficult time, and I'm not going to punish you for this. But I need you to be respectful to other students, even when you disagree with them. Can you do that?" Mia nods, still sullen. "Good. You can go back to class. Your father and I need to talk for a moment." After Mia leaves, Principal Hawthorne's expression softens. "Mr. Reeves, I'm concerned. This isn't the first time Mia's had emotional outbursts. Last week, she cried during a lesson about families. The week before, she got into a fight with her best friend about whose parents love them more. I know. We're working with a therapist. It's an ongoing process. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying she's struggling, more than you might realize, and I think she needs more support than she's currently getting. More support, more therapy, more time, more attention, more emotional energy I'm not sure I have to give. But she's my daughter. She didn't ask for this, didn't choose to have her family explode, deserves every resource, every intervention, every possible tool to help her navigate this. I'll set up more frequent therapy sessions, I say, and I'll talk to her tonight. Thank you for calling me in." The drive home from school is quiet. Mia sits in the back seat, staring out the window, her face reflected in the glass, looking small and sad, and older than 8. "I'm not mad," I say finally. "I understand why you said what you said." "Emma's lucky," Mia says quietly. "Her parents are still together. They still love each other. She doesn't have to go to 2 different houses or remember which parents' weekend it is, or explain to everyone at school why her mom doesn't pick her up anymore. I know, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry your life is harder than it should be. Is it your fault? or mom's fault? The question I've been avoiding. The question with no good answer.
It's both our faults. Your mom made choices that hurt our marriage. I made the choice to end the marriage instead of trying to fix it. We're both responsible for how things turned out, but mom's more responsible.
Maybe. Probably. But assigning percentages of blame doesn't help anything. What helps is accepting where we are and trying to make the best of it. Do you hate Mom? No, I don't hate her. I'm angry at her sometimes. I'm sad about what we lost, but I don't hate her. Do you think she hates you?
I don't know, sweetheart. That's something you'd have to ask her. We pull into the driveway. Jackson's bus arrives 5 minutes later. He bounds off, backpack bouncing, completely oblivious to the heavy conversation his sister and I just had. He shows me a drawing, some kind of robot dinosaur hybrid, and chatters about lunch and recess and the game they're playing in PE. Normal kid stuff. The kind of stuff that should fill my days, that used to fill my days before everything became complicated. That evening, after homework and dinner and the bedtime routine, I return to the document on my laptop, add today's incident to the chronology, note Mia's questions, her anger, her pain. This is what the affair cost. Not just my marriage, not just my trust, not just my ability to believe in permanence or promises. It cost my children their innocence. Cost them the simple faith that parents stay together, that love lasts, that the world is fundamentally stable. Sarah did that. I did that. We did that together through our choices, hers to betray, mine to expose. Both of us prioritizing our own needs over the fragile psyches of the children caught in the middle. I closed the laptop, walked to the window. The neighborhood is dark, quiet. Everyone tucked safely in their homes, living their lives, dealing with their own problems, or maybe not dealing, maybe hiding, maybe presenting perfect facades while chaos roils beneath. Mia was right to call Emma a potential liar. Not because Emma's parents are definitely hiding problems, but because everyone hides problems. Everyone performs stability. Everyone shows the world a version of themselves that's cleaner, happier, more functional than the reality. I did it for years, went to work, smiled at colleagues, told people my marriage was fine when it was already dying, posted photos on social media of family vacations and birthday parties, creating the appearance of happiness while privately drowning in suspicion and dread. The performance of normalcy, the maintenance of the lie, until the lie becomes unsustainable and everything collapses and you're left standing in the ruins wondering which parts were ever real. My phone buzzes. Text from Jennifer. Divorce finalized today. Feeling weird about it. You around to talk? Mine finalized too. Call me. She does. We talk for an hour. About the strange anticlimax of legal dissolution. About how the papers don't change anything practical. We've been separated for months, living separate lives, already adjusted to the new reality, but somehow the official decree makes it feel more permanent, more final. Do you think you'll ever trust anyone again? She asks. Like, really trust them? Let someone in? I don't know. Right now, the idea of being vulnerable with another person feels impossible, terrifying. Same. I tried going on a date last week. Disaster. Spent the whole time analyzing everything he said, looking for inconsistencies, trying to find the lie before it found me. What happened? He ordered wine I'd never heard of, and I decided he was pretentious and probably hiding something and left before the appetizers arrived. My therapist says I'm not ready to date. I think my therapist might be right. We laugh, bitter and knowing. The laughter of people who've learned expensive lessons, who've paid tuition in heartbreak and received a degree in cynicism. The kids are what keeps me going, I say. On the days when I think I can't do this anymore, when the anger and grief feel too heavy, I look at them and remember I don't have a choice. They need me functional. So I function. That's all we can do. Function. Survive. Put one foot in front of the other until eventually it feels less like trudging through mud and more like actual walking. After we hang up, I return to the journal, read through the entries from the beginning,
The first suspicions, the growing evidence, the night I hung the photographs, the confrontations and negotiations and legal proceedings, 200 pages documenting the death of a marriage. But maybe it's time to start documenting something else. The rebuilding. The slow, difficult work of creating a life that's not defined by what I lost, but by what I'm building. A life centered on the kids, on healing, on finding some version of peace that doesn't require forgetting or forgiving, just accepting. I create a new document, title it After, and I start writing. Not about betrayal and evidence and consequences, but about Mia's questions and Jackson's drawings, and the small moments of normalcy that peek through the grief. About learning to cook for 3 instead of 4. About the first time I laughed genuinely at something, surprised that laughter was still possible. About Jennifer's friendship and Linda's support and Margaret's pragmatic wisdom. About survival becoming life. About endings making space for beginnings. About the slow, painful, necessary work of becoming whole again after being broken. The words come easier than expected. Maybe because these words aren't about preservation or documentation, they're about transformation. About the person I'm becoming in the aftermath, built from the pieces of who I was. I write until midnight, until my eyes burn and my fingers ache, until I've filled 20 pages with observations and reflections and tentative hope. Then I save the file, close the laptop, go upstairs to check on the kids one more time before bed. They're both sleeping. Mia sprawled across her bed, one arm hanging off the side. Jackson curled into a ball, dinosaur, clutched tight. Innocent, resilient, damaged, but not destroyed. Like me, we're all going to be okay. Not today, maybe. Not tomorrow. But eventually, I believe that now. I have to.